the first Tuesday of the month of February 2026 on The Explainer tonight.
I, Marjan Hussain Marjan.
Sudden end. IEBC Chairman Erastus Ethekon confirms termination of the services of CEO Marjan Hussain Marjan by mutual consent.
Tunaamini aje sisi pesa zitatusaidia ama zitajenga zile barabara. Kitu ingine, hizi barabara, it is not a priority. Kuna masomo yenye ikienda chini, kuna health yenye isingatiwi.
Kenyans submit views over the proposed sale of 15% of Safaricom shares as government kicks off a public participation exercise. Replacing Raila Odinga. Kalonzo Musyoka takes over the leadership of the Azimio coalition following new political realignments. Which way Sifuna? Embattled ODM Secretary General speaks on politics in ODM, broad-based government, and the Raila legacy. The last time we spoke to the ODM Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna, was last year around June or July, I believe. A lot has happened between then and now, including the unfortunate passing of the party leader, Raila Odinga. And tonight he joins us for another conversation on the Raila Odinga legacy. What is happening in ODM? Does anybody want to kick him out? Who and why? And is ODM dead after the passing of Raila Odinga? Which way ODM? We'll be discussing that with the ODM Party Secretary General on The Explainer, which begins right now.
Live from Citizen TV, this is The Explainer with Yvonne Okwara.
Joki Shege is our sign language interpreter. Let's begin The Explainer tonight with the latest from the polls body, IEBC, which has terminated the services of its chief executive officer, Marjan Hussain Marjan, by mutual consent. Marjan, who was confirmed as a CEO in 2021, leaves the commission after a cumulative 10-year tenure, and in the same fashion as his two predecessors left. As Ayub Abdikadir reports, the exit, albeit by consent, leaves more clouds hanging over one of the country's sensitive constitutional commissions ahead of the general elections next year.
Marjan Hussain Marjan.
He exits the IEBC after a decade of service, overseeing two contested presidential elections, all settled by the Supreme Court. One as the Chief Executive Officer of the Commission in 2022. And now Marjan Hussain Marjan, whose tenure was set to expire in March 2027, just 5 months before polling day, leaves the poll body. His departure follows a day-long meeting at the Commission's Anniversary Towers headquarters, ending with his exit from office following mutual agreement with the Erastus Ethekon-led new commission. In his resignation letter, Marjan draws public attention to the 2022 general elections, a period, according to him, marked by tense times, underscoring the significance of the secretariat he led, which was subjected to intense public pressure and which he says strengthened public confidence in the commission. In a swift rejoinder, the commission chairperson noted while the termination of Marjan's services was by mutual consent, the commission will announce an interim replacement assuring the public of stability as the country gears up for next year's polls. Like his predecessors James Oswago and Ezra Chiloba, Marjan suffers same fate and leaves office unceremoniously since the IEBC came into being post-2010 promulgation of the Constitution. He was recently adversely mentioned by the opposition over preparedness of next year's polls, questioning whether the Commission Secretariat he headed had done due diligence on election company Smartmatic, questioning the capacity of the new commissioners and expressing doubt over the management of the general elections in 2027. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
And here on The Explainer, we have the ODM Party Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna. Edwin, just your quick reaction to the exit of the CEO of the IEBC. What does that change, if anything, in terms of your perception of the country's preparedness and the IEBC's preparedness for the next general election?
Yeah, thank you, Yvonne. The news just filtered in a few hours ago, and for me, it would be prudent for us to await details of the circumstances of his early exit for us to make any meaningful comment, because the problem we have with the Commission is that most of the times we do not know many of the reasons behind the decisions that they make. So even on this one, I would be cautious to just wait for details of the decision. I mean, we need to hear from the commissioners. That communication that has been put out this evening doesn't say much about the reasons behind the exit, and we are told that his term was coming to an end in March of 2027 anyway, which might be a good thing, so that you have somebody in office in good time to be able to put together proper preparations for the elections in 2027.
And overall, what has been your feeling about IEBC in the run-up to 2027?
I think we have had very serious challenges. You remember last time we were here, we were discussing about even how we came to have the current commission put together. In the initial days after the expiry of the terms of Chebukati and the others, this government was very keen on having an IEBC that was pliant, an IEBC that was put together unilaterally by William Ruto. You will remember it was one of those things that took us to the streets in 2023. It took a very long time. There was a panel led by Makanda that was put in place, that was then put in limbo for a very long time. We had to go through NADCO, which is part of the conversations we're going to be holding this evening. It was a product of very serious labor on the part of the opposition to be able to have the current commission. We have seen very little in terms of indication that there will be a commission that can live up to the expectation of Kenyans. If the activities in the by-elections are anything to go by in November, we saw rampant bribery of voters. We saw involvement of government machinery in campaigns. We saw use of government resources in campaigns, and yet this commission passed those by-elections to be free and fair. So I think for me, we will still hold out to be able to see what this commission can deliver for the people of Kenya.
Indeed. Thank you. Stay with us. ODM Party SG Edwin Sifuna, we have much, much more to talk about with you here on the program tonight. But to some more news now. Public participation on the sale of 15% of the government-held Safaricom shares to Vodacom has begun in Nairobi, Mandera, Nyandarua and Machakos. Citizens weighed in on the 200 billion shilling deal aimed at funding infrastructure, raising concerns over government mistrust, national sovereignty, corruption and potential misuse of funds. Supporters of the multi-billion transaction called for Kenyans' inclusion in the share buyout and civic education on the financial implications. Seth Olale reports.
In fact, for the first time, ordinary Kenyans had a chance to share their opinion regarding the government's 15% share sale to Vodacom, worth 244 billion shillings during the public participation sessions that kicked off in Nairobi, Mandera, Nyandarua and Machakos counties.
Wanasema ikuwe expressly.
Majority of citizens expressing concerns regarding utilization of the proceeds, authenticity of the valuation and pricing mechanism, corruption, wastage in government, misprioritizing the intended proceeds, and lack of a proper legislation ring-fencing the fund.
Tulipoteza tena 11 billion through SHA. Yenye hatuwezi kubali kudanganya kuuza kampuni zetu.
Tunaamini aje sisi pesa zitatusaidia ama zitajenga zile barabara. Kitu ingine, hizi barabara, it is not a priority. Kuna masomo yenye inaenda ikienda chini, kuna health yenye isingatiwi.
Sizungumzii utendakazi peke yake, nazungumzia vile vile siri hasa za nchi yetu ambazo ziko ndani ya Safaricom.
Price of 34 which has been put there, I guess Safaricom being a very growing company, maybe in the next 1 year, those shares will be even 50 shillings.
Those supporting the sale of the government's 15% shares to Vodacom want fellow Kenyans to be given an opportunity to buy a stake in the Safaricom-Vodacom divestiture.
Let it sell to Kenyans. Give out a public outplea that you need money and let Kenyans buy those shares.
We want to construct roads. What I could propose, my opinion is, let them identify those right people who can construct good roads, maybe putting water, electricity and whatever, because of transparency.
Sisi kama watu wa boda saa zingine natuchanganya, si ndio? Lakini kuna mtu alitufundisha hapa na mheshimiwa alipofika pia akajaribu kutufundisha, at least kuna jambo tumeweza kuelewa moja au mbili.
Nikiona ni mambo ya development, hiyo najua ni 100%, hiyo pesa inaenda kufanya hiyo kazi.
Ni pesa ngapi zinabaki za kujenga barabara, za kujenga hospitali, za kujenga dams? 29.8 billion shillings only. The truth is, we have been living a lie all this time.
The public participation sessions are scheduled to run for 2 weeks in a total of 30 counties. Even as the public participation extends to other parts of the country, members of the public want their views to be included in the final report regarding the sale of the government's stake in Safaricom to Vodacom. Seth Olale, Citizen TV at the Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi County.
Busia County is on the anti-graft watchdog's radar as investigations intensify into the irregular awarding of tenders amounting to 1.4 billion shillings from 2022 to 2025. Governor Paul Otuoma today recorded a statement at the EACC regional office in Bungoma, where he is regarded as a person of interest. Key details of some of the issues under investigation involve the issuance of tenders to 26 proxy companies associated with family members of senior officials of the Busia County government. Laura Otieno reports.
Busia County Governor Paul Otuoma was today holed up at the EACC regional office in Bungoma, where he was assisting with investigations on the irregular award of tenders and payment of over 1.4 billion shillings to 26 proxy companies between the financial years 2022-2023 to 2024-2025. According to a media brief by EACC, the investigations touch Bayer Farm Care Limited, Leokeys Investment Limited, and Multidose Agro Supplies, companies allegedly linked to the governor and his family members, which received a sum of 90 million shillings after the awarding of respective tenders.
There are hundreds and hundreds of files here, going all the way back to 2013. And I'm sure they will be in a better position to give you those answers, rather than mentioning people's names, and that is not within. I just came to answer what concerned me as a governor.
Also on the radar is the issue of the construction of the Busia Trailer Park Yard, where the county government is alleged to have irregularly leased out a 2.4-acre piece of public land for the construction of the yard. According to EACC, Athi Limited signed a 25-year lease agreement with an annual rate of 1.4 million shillings, escalating at a 10% rate every 5 years, where the county government gets a revenue share of 30% and Athi Limited bagging 70% of the revenue collected at the yard. Otuoma says he is cooperating with the anti-corruption watchdog.
Some matters are not new. They are already in public domain. Some are already in the Senate through the Auditor General's reports. Some, we have been taken to court. Some are litigations in court. So these are already matters before the public domain.
EACC says it has more cases in the pipeline as it seeks to execute its mandate more effectively, with devolved units rapidly having notoriety as new frontiers of wastage of public funds. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Just get a place. Where do you want?
The Senate Public Accounts Committee, chaired by Homa Bay Senator Moses Kajwang, on Tuesday questioned Kitui Governor Julius Malombe on the Auditor General's queries regarding revenue and cess collection for sand harvesters. The Kitui County government claimed it only receives an average of 20 lorries per day, a number that was refuted by the committee.
from where I sit, I don't have visibility on the sand harvesting activities in Kitui. But the numbers here imply that on average you collect from 5 trucks a day. Now, so for the people of Kitui and the county as vast as it is it the reality that it's just about 5 trucks that transport sand? Or is it that some trucks pay and that money is never recorded?
What we have established, the county government of Kitui is not the one which collects the 6,000 or any employee of ours. It is CBOs which existed before 2022 and before we put this act together and enacted it.
You cannot tell this committee, you cannot tell the people of Kitui that there are days that you don't even get a truck ferrying sand from Kitui rivers. You know, this is a matter that everybody now in Kitui today is actually glued on their TVs to hear your answers on the matter of cess from the sand in Kitui rivers. Please, for the sake of those people, just say the truth.
Azimio Coalition Council Chairperson and retired President Uhuru Kenyatta has chaired a meeting that has effected changes in the coalition leadership, replacing the late Raila Odinga with Kalonzo Musyoka as the new Azimio party leader. In the changes already communicated to the Registrar of Political Parties, Raila Odinga's key ally, Junet Mohammed, was replaced with Suba North MP Karoli Omondi in a meeting that also resolved to have new parties join the coalition. Stephen Leto reports.
Several months after the passing on of Raila Odinga, the Azimio la Umoja Coalition Party held its first meeting where it resolved to effect key changes in its leadership structure. The meeting resolved to have Wiper Patriotic Front leader Kalonzo Musyoka replace the late Odinga as the Azimio party leader. Suba North lawmaker Karoli Omondi is the new Azimio Secretary General, with veteran politician Philip Kisia taking up the role of Executive Director. In effect, apart from replacing Odinga, his ally Junet Mohammed, who was the Secretary General, has been shown the door, as well as then Executive Director Raphael Tuju. The resolutions were quickly communicated to the Registrar of Political Parties, John Loronokou. The Azimio Council submitting to the Registrar a notice dated 29th January convening the meeting, minutes of the meeting held on 2nd February 2026, and the resolutions of the meeting, including change of officials. A letter dated 2nd February addressed to Junet Mohammed on his removal, a statutory form PP7 on the change of officials, as well as an attendees list of the meeting, were also submitted to the registrar. The Azimio Council meeting also resolved to open doors for new political parties to join the coalition as it prepares for 2027 general election. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
The government has announced a renewed security crackdown on cattle rustling and banditry in Isiolo, Samburu and Meru counties, with the operation set to take effect immediately. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, speaking during a security engagement in Isiolo on Tuesday, said the multi-agency operation will involve the Kenya Defence Forces and the National Intelligence Service. The agencies will work in close coordination with the National Police Service to flush out bandits and dismantle criminal networks operating in the region. Citizen TV's Ben Kiroi with more.
Bandits, cattle rustlers and other criminal elements who have for years terrorized the parts of Isiolo, Samburu and Meru counties will have nowhere to hide. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen declaring a high-level multi-agency security operation aimed at dismantling criminal networks once and for all.
Tomorrow and by Thursday, by weekend, lazima nisikie nduru kwa kila kona, nipate masimu ya kila aina, ndio nijue kwamba hiyo uchungu imepatikana.
Speaking in Isiolo on Tuesday while presiding over a security meeting following weeks of bandit attacks around Isiolo town and parts of Meru County, Murkomen said the operation will go beyond pursuing armed criminals. He noted that authorities will also target financiers and accomplices, including individuals involved in the purchase of illegal firearms and ammunition, as well as those who support criminal activities by buying stolen livestock.
Hiyo operation itakuwa chungu. Itakuwa ina target bandits wenyewe, wale wanawapatia pesa ya kununua bunduki, wale wanawapatia pesa ya kununua risasi, wale ambao wananunua ng'ombe directly kutoka hawa wakiwapatia pesa ya kuendelesha hiyo kazi.
The operation will involve the Kenya Defence Forces KDF and the National Intelligence Service NIS, which will be deployed to bandit-prone areas and work in close coordination with the National Police Service to flush out bandits and dismantle criminal networks operating in the region.
Tutakuja sisi wote hapa kama vile waziri wetu amesema, tutalete vifaa zetu hapa. Mtu asianze kulia ule yako kwa hiyo resource huko, ule yako kwa hiyo mlima ingine, hiyo anafichana mahali hiyo ingine, hapana lia kama sisi tunafika hapo.
The Interior CS put police officers accused of aiding criminals on notice, announcing a reorganization of security personnel in the affected areas.
Officers who have overstayed in this place and they have become complacent. Wamezoeana, wako na marafiki, wako na networks na watu ya hapa, wanaogopa kiongozi huyu na kiongozi yule.
He said officers who have overstayed will be transferred as part of efforts to enhance accountability and restore public confidence. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And now to the weather outlook. And it is bleak for 23 arid and semi-arid counties facing drought, as the Kenya Met Department projects only average rainfall during the long rain season. The weatherman warns that this will not be enough, given that ASAL areas have experienced poor rainfall in previous seasons, leading to severe food insecurity and water scarcity. However, the Kenya Meteorological Department says the country's food basket regions are expected to receive adequate rainfall between March and May. Gatete Njoroge reports.
With more than 2 million Kenyans facing hunger as a result of the prolonged drought in ASAL counties, there is little hope from the weatherman ahead of the long rains. The Kenya Meteorological Department says its projections indicate the affected counties will receive only average rainfall between March and May, amounts deemed insufficient to reverse the impact of the drought.
The eastern parts of the country, the ASAL parts, average to below average. Average may not be adequate to offset the deficit that is already on the ground because the OND rainfall failed in these areas. And even the previous seasons did not perform well.
Reports indicate that the prolonged dry season has caused nearly 65% of water sources in the affected counties to dry up, a situation that has left thousands of children, pregnant women and breastfeeding mothers suffering from acute malnutrition.
Over 134,000 pregnant women and breastfeeding mothers are acutely malnourished and they require treatment. Among the affected children, 194,000 are suffering from severe acute malnutrition, with 56% residing in the ASAL counties and also the refugee camps.
The weatherman, however, has offered some good news for the country's food basket regions. The western and highland areas are expected to receive average to above average rainfall, raising hopes for a bumper harvest. With the prospect of heavier rains, the government is putting measures in place to manage potential flooding and landslides.
This is also a multi-front challenge which will require concerted efforts across government agencies, international organizations, disaster risk organizations, and other disciplines in order to successfully equip communities at risk with climate information and advisory services that enable them to to make improved decisions under a variable and changing climate.
The Kenya Meteorological Department, speaking at the 12th National Climate Outlook Forum, is expected to officially release its long-range projection on Wednesday. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
And we are taking a quick short break on The Explainer tonight, but we're back with Senator Edwin Sifuna, who's the ODM Secretary General. We have much to talk about. In fact, we will also be taking your questions. The hashtag is The Explainer at Citizen TV Kenya, at Yvonne Aquara. If you want to send a text message, the number is 22422. We'll see you after the break. Which way Sifuna? Embattled ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna speaks on internal party politics, the broad-based government, and the Raila Odinga legacy. All right, we're back on The Explainer with ODM Party Secretary General Edwin Sifuna to talk about a wide range of issues in the political sphere. It's good to have you with us. Let's begin by speaking about the recent Azimio leadership changes that have been announced today and communicated to the Registrar of Parties. When I ask you, what is left of Azimio? I mean, many parties have already left, this alliance, this cooperation. ODM seems to still be in this arrangement.
Actually, I don't know what you mean by many parties have left. As far as I remember, ODM is still a member of Azimio. I remember the party that was formerly associated with Martha Karua. I think they're the only ones who formally exited. And PA, yes, because those ones exited immediately after the election. But if I remember the signing ceremony for that coalition, there was over 26 of us signing those documents, and therefore I don't know what you mean by many have left, because many vis-a-vis 26, 5 vis-a-vis 26 is not many. And I can only speak authoritatively for ODM, and today I have brought the constitution of ODM because I need to educate people. This is called the explainer. We need to explain things to people so that they understand. The constitution of ODM is here with me, and it says that for ODM to exit a coalition, you require, under Article 85 of the party constitution, a resolution backed by 2/3 of members of the National Executive Committee of the party. Then you communicate to the registrar. So that has not happened. So as far as I know, ODM had representation in the Azimio Council. I think Governor Oparanya, who, of course, by virtue of him having been appointed to cabinet, could not hold positions in a political party. The Honorable Junet Mohammed, I've seen in your bulletin there that he was informed, he was aware of this particular meeting. Those are the people who used to represent us in Azimio. So for me, I know that we are still members of that coalition. And to just congratulate the coalition, because it has been a bit chill on that side, to congratulate the new office holders and wish them the very best. And they can count on the support of ODM party for as long as we remain members of the Azimio coalition.
So it's still vibrant in your view?
As I've said, things have been a bit...
the person who's now the party leader. Things have been a bit
quiet on that front, but that's what I'm saying. For us, we know that we are still members. And I want to thank them for at least allowing us, as members of ODM, time to mourn our departed leader. That many of the things we've seen in our own party, they did not do the same after the death of Raila Odinga, that they gave us time to be able to mourn our party leader. Yvonne, a lot of things have happened. You know, you asked when the last time I was here was in July, actually 22nd of July last year. And people have asked, oh, why have I taken all this time? And I want to explain to you. Even you asked me, why now? There is a reason. You know, after the explainer of 22nd July, certain things happened. The first one was the party called a central committee meeting to discuss Sifuna, and I'm sure after this one, they will call another one. But good things come out of those meetings, even when they go to discuss Sifuna. 14 days after we spoke, and because we spoke about the state of the implementation of the MOU, which we signed with UDA, 14 days later, on the 6th of August, there was a communication from the President and Raila Odinga of the setting up of a committee, which they called a committee to oversee the implementation of the 10-point agenda, and the NADCO report. And after that Central Committee meeting, of course, the meeting happened in the presence of all the leaders. This committee was announced. And the communication, which I have a copy here of, is signed by Raila Odinga and the president himself, gave a deadline of March 7th, 2026 for this committee to submit its final report. And I remember agreeing with my boss, the late Raila Odinga, that I will give this committee a chance. Because when I was on this show, I declared that MOU dead for very good reasons, if you remember. And he said, Sifuna, look, many of these people in this committee that we've put together, including the chairperson, Agnes Zani, who's actually my deputy and somebody who I respect because she's my predecessor. Many of them are members of ODM, Fatuma Ibrahim, Gabriel Oguda. Those are people that I know and I've worked with. And Raila told me, Sifuna, give these people 6 months. It's been 6 months. And I am here to say, I am here to sound the alarm that they have 30 days to give us a final report on the MOU because that MOU is not extendable. The expiry date was 7th March 2026. So I'm hoping that tonight, wherever Baba is, he knows that I have kept his promise to give these people a chance to work. And we agreed on 6 months. Today, those 6 months are over. We have only 1 month to go. And I want to understand how this committee is going to deliver all those 10 points that we agreed before that deadline.
With a month to go, what is your assessment of the implementation?
They have done nothing.
Of that 10
they have done absolutely zero. And we will go with you one by one.
Okay.
I want to start with that MOU because there are some issues which came up even in your bulletin. The MOU is here because I brought copies that have been signed. And I want to show your viewers so that they don't say Sifuna comes here with his own things. First of all, this MOU, you know, we need to educate the public. There's a lot of ignorance out there. This MOU bears 2 signatures. I don't know if they can zoom in on my copy.
Yeah.
Do you see Sifuna's signature here? There are only 2 signatures, Yvonne, if you can read from where you are. Who are these people who signed this MOU? It's the President, William Ruto, and Raila Odinga. Those are the people who signed this document. We wrote it. They signed it. Now, if you have to extend this MOU, you have to talk to Raila. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we start with point number 1. We said the first issue that we agreed upon, because these are the issues that were important to Raila Odinga, the full implementation of the NADCO report. So what was the NADCO report? And you have to go back to that NADCO conversation, and I'll give you just quick highlights. The first one was an audit of the 2022 elections. You have just asked me here about the question of this CEO exiting. Majan has a lot of questions to answer, not just to members of ODM and the opposition or supporters of Raila Odinga, but to the country about what happened in 2022. So this is what we agreed in NADCO, a comprehensive evaluation of the 2022 electoral process to enhance transparency and public trust. That has not happened. And I challenge that Agnes Zani-led committee to show us where an audit of 2022 has happened. The next one, government expenditure cuts. All government arms should reduce travel budgets by 50%. Just the other day, you saw in the newspapers a report. Kindiki, the deputy president, 340 million shillings expenditure or budget for his travel, private jets and choppers. Number 3, devolution support. Calls for the national governments to finalize the transfer of all devolved functions to county governments. I want them to demonstrate to us how that has been done. Finally, there was the question of the political parties regulation, where Baba, through NADCO, had agreed with UDA to establish an independent political parties regulatory commission to oversee registration and funding of political parties. Even this question of funding of political parties, I can state authoritatively here that the money and the resources you see being spent in those ODM rallies, the so-called underground, those monies are not coming from ODM headquarters.
Where are they coming from?
You will ask them. Because for me, this is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you. I can only account for monies that, because I'm a signatory to the bank accounts, forget this rubbish you hear people saying here. Timothy Bosire, the treasurer, is a signatory to the bank accounts. The last money we expended as ODM, officially, was for the celebrations in Mombasa. And it was a fraction of what we saw there. So I am telling you, I know for a fact, there is parallel funding for activities clothed in ODM colors. And they go around running around saying they are ODM delegates. So this is the problem that we have.
Just one moment.
Yes.
So we can go step by step. So what you're saying is the Linda Ground
those rallies are not financed from party headquarters or party coffers. That one I can tell you for a fact.
Including what we have seen in terms of gaining, public support or sentiment for the pre-election coalition pact, which we will talk about.
I am telling you,
the party
all those activities that you have seen, including those ones that you are referring to, there is no money that I executed a check for from party coffers or headquarters. In fact, we didn't have any money. The third quarter of the financial year, the remittance came, I think, 2 weeks ago, about 100 million shillings, and it is a drop in the ocean to what, when compared to what exactly ODM is supposed to receive. As we speak, Yvonne, ODM is owed a total of 12 billion shillings by Treasury, yet we are being told that my former chairperson is the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury. So, if you go just by that issue alone on the implementation of National Dialogue Committee report, the score there is 0, and I challenge anybody to come up with a better score if they have done the things that Baba agreed to do. Number 2 was inclusivity in all spheres of public life. This is what they parrot around, saying, oh, they have employed somebody from Western, they have employed somebody from Coast, they have employed somebody. Baba, when we were discussing these issues, it was not about positions and which tribe gets what. We have turned into the Rigathi Gachagwas of today. We are the ones speaking the language of shares. We are the ones saying the cow should be divided into 2 halves and 50-50. I mean, we, for all the condemnation that they extend to Rigathi Gachagua, they are the ones speaking the language of shares now because they have tested government power.
Is this not inclusivity in public?
This is what I'm saying. Inclusivity. If you look,
appointments, not
just
level.
Look at the text. Kenya belongs to all persons regardless of their ethnicity, religion, generation, or geographic location. This is the thinking that went into this. You understand? So it is not just about getting 2 lawyers employed. No. It is not just about even religious and even geographical discrimination. These are things that you have to look at.
And you think that's not been done?
Well, you can say the inclusion of a few people who would never have got an opportunity in any government is positive, but that one will give them 20% out of 100. Protecting and strengthening devolution. Yeah. Baba wanted specifically in this financial year that we are concluding 450 billion shillings to go to counties. They gave us 415, not 450. Now, when you look at what is happening with the counties themselves, as a senator, I can tell you, we have been, there was a time when the regime was making a lot of noise saying they're up to date with remittances. Counties are struggling, Yvonne, because they go up to 2-3 months without disbursement of their shares, equitable share. And then they tell us they are supporting devolution. This one, on NADCO, in terms of transfer of all devolved functions, have all functions been devolved? We still have national government entities, especially in the water sector, running devolved functions. This has not been done. And I challenge anybody to tell me that this has been done. Let's go until number 10. So did we get 450 billion?
Yes, so
we did not get 450 billion. So if we agreed on 450 and you give me 415, you cannot say you have done it.
So you give a score on
of 0. Of 0, let them come and tell us their score.
All right, economic...
Promoting and protecting the livelihoods of young people. Just today in your bulletin, Yvonne, and this is tied up with this other issue of stopping extrajudicial killings. We have police officers being accused in Kahawa West of torturing and killing 2 young people, stuffing maize in their bodies and torturing them to death and beating them with blunt objects. Have killings stopped? I have counted upwards of 20 people, young people, killed by this regime after signing this document. And we can go through that list from the gentleman in Kitale to Albert Ojwang. All of those things happened after signing of this MOU. So we can pontificate about this so-called Nyota program, which, by the way, is an abuse of public resources. Abuse of public resources. Because how can you turn the distribution of these resources funded by the World Bank, by the way, which we have to all pay back, and turn them into UDA rallies? How can you do that? And nobody is saying anything about it. So this one, number 4, let them give us their score. I will give them 0. Leadership and integrity.
And the end of opulence.
Let me not even start. Let me not even start. This is the problem that got us into the 2024 quagmire in the first place. I've given you the example of Kindiki and his private jets. Should we still be seeing such opulence in government? We are being told that State House runs through its budget of mandazi and soda way before the financial year closes. So let them explain to us
All right. On the right to peaceful assembly, compensation of all
this one, you know the answer. You know the answer. First of all, ODM is a public funded organization that was built on the back of peaceful assembly and protests. No ODM leader should be heard saying we can limit or fetter the right to Article 37 in any way. Because ODM is maandamano.
All right. On that, let me ask you this, because we've seen the CS for Treasury speaking. I believe it was just yesterday that he has seen the economic impact of protests in the country, that for 1 month of protests, it takes about 3 months to recover. And I guess he says that based on what he's saying is his new position and his new information that is available.
What he forgets that there is a reason, a cause for those maandamano. What was the reason for why the young people went to the streets in 2024? They didn't just wake up and go. It is the intransigence and the refusal to listen by people who are in elective positions that drives people to exercise these rights. You know, even for us, as ODM...
Other party leaders have also said, maandamano hamtarudi tena.
This is the point, because those are not our only choices. Opposition is not synonymous with maandamano. There are other ways to hold the government account, and nobody is saying if you leave the broad-based government, you go to the streets. Who has told you that? Nobody has said any of that. You have to have a reason, an excuse for you to be on the streets. When we went to the streets in 2023 with Baba, and by the way, many of these people who are speaking here, I never saw them in the streets with Raila. But these days, they are the experts on how maandamano is a bad thing or a good thing. They were not there, and everybody knows this. Now, there were reasons, including cost of living. The cost of living was so high that we had to go to the streets putting sufurias on our heads to demonstrate that we need food for our people. You know, when we were talking about audit of the 2022 elections, that is a reason, a valid reason for you to be able to go on the streets. And we didn't start on the streets, Yvonne. I remember we did a rally at Jivanji here. And we set out all these conditions and we say, please, we are giving government opportunity to address these issues. We even suggested how some of those issues could be addressed. When they are ignored, you move to this public action, which includes the rights under Article 37. Since this document was signed with UDA committing to respect the right under Article 37, how many peaceful protests have you seen being broken up violently and brutally? Many, they are countless, including now we are at a situation where they even tear gas churches, people who rode on the church to gain access to power. These days, they don't even respect our freedom of worship, that I'm not safe in church. And many people don't know that it is not just a specific leader. I know they talk about Gachagua and his incidents. And by the way, I need to say this. The Raila Odinga that I knew would never wish the worst even on his own worst enemy. Raila Odinga in power or in cooperation with a party in power would not allow the tear gassing of the devil in church. That's what I'm telling you. So when you see people saying, oh, you can tear gas this one because he's a bad person, he used to do the same to us, you can call out regarding this hypocrisy when he was in power. But that doesn't make it right that now, because he's outside of power, it is okay for him to be tear gassed in church. So this one, under Article 37 and compensation, don't even begin about compensation. Don't even get me started about compensation. Nothing has been done. It has not been done. Article 37 has been repeatedly violated even after we signed this document.
The audit of the national debt and how it has been used, that is point number 10 of the 10 points. Point number 7.
We don't have an audit of our national debt. In fact, what we have is litigation in our courts on this thing that Jimmy and his friends call odious debt, which I personally don't understand very well, but I know what they're saying, is that if we borrowed money for the benefit of the people of Kenya, and we don't see that benefit and we can't point to a single project to which this money went to, it was stolen, then it should not be demanded from the people of Kenya, that the people who took that money should be made to answer. So you would have to show me an audit of the public debt for you to say we have complied with Article 7.
Number 8, fighting corruption.
Yeah, let us be shown how. Between the 7th of March and today, let us be shown if corruption in government has been fought in any way. And I can tell you, Yvonne, by the way, many of us, we miss Raila. It's just that sometimes we don't know what to do. There is, I was supposed to be in Turkana with the Energy Committee this week, because we're doing public participation on this so-called field development plan. I want to tell Kenyans this is going to be the biggest scandal this country has ever seen. Biggest corruption scandal this country has ever seen. Because, Yvonne, you have a situation where the operator or the oil company that has been given the go-ahead to do this FDP, you see changes in its ownership within a matter of days before the FDP is approved by the Ministry of Energy. You see changes in the original contract to push the cost recovery rate from 65% to actually 55% to 85% in a matter of days after approval of that FDP. There are so many things that point to obvious corruption in that particular deal. And I can assure you, if we do not fight that particular issue, Kenya is not going to see a single shilling of that oil.
Okay, so that is point number 8. And point number 9 and number 10, I think you've spoken about.
Absolutely.
Which is the stoppage of wastage of public resources and protecting the sovereignty of the people, respecting the rule of law and press freedom, and stopping abductions, right?
Correct.
So it would seem that you don't think the 10-point agenda, 1, has been implemented in any way?
No,
From point number 1 to point number 10, there was 1 point I think you gave.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
And the other thing is,
this is the
other
communication.
Question is you do not feel that that committee that is to oversee the implementation of this 10-point agenda has done much with just a month to go. So
yeah, let's read the communication. Again, this document is signed by 2 people. I hope you can see the signatures here. Sifuna is not a signatory to this document. It is His Excellency the President and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And I want to read verbatim so that people don't say Sifuna makes up his own things. It says the committee will commence its work immediately and will submit progress reports to a joint Kenya Kwanza ODM parliamentary group on a quarterly basis. How many quarters have passed since this document was written? At least 2 quarters have passed. Have you seen those reports? No. A final comprehensive report detailing the status of the MOU's implementation will be released to the public on March 7th, 2026. So we have 30 days to go.
You are essentially saying, because
Yes.
we're getting messages here from people who are members of this committee, you are essentially saying that this committee has not fulfilled its mandate to oversee the implementation of
I
this
am saying
agenda?
it is not up to the committee, because that committee, I have a lot of sympathy for them, because I know most of the things that needed or were required to be done are supposed to be done by government. If you can tell, you can't, for instance, ask Agnes Zani why those 2 kids were killed in Kawa West.
So why have the committee?
That's not up to him.
So why have
Up
the
to her.
committee in the first place then, if you're saying it?
Why do what?
Why have the committee in the first place?
Now, this committee, that's why I started by the last time that I was here. This committee flowed out of the conversation we had here. Because when we raised grave concerns about the status of the implementation of the MOU, there were those in the Central Committee who felt that maybe it's because we don't have a committee to oversee. But my point when I was here is that there is no goodwill on the part of William Ruto to implement the MOU. Because from the beginning, they were not interested in the contents of the MOU. They were interested in getting a document, which, by the way, they have done very well. For as long as there is a document here, you can say we are in government and in partnership together. And I want to clear one thing up, Yvonne. I don't know how many times I can explain this. This MOU is not what birthed the broad-based government. This document is dated 7th of March 2025. That's when this MOU was signed. By that time, Kina Oparanya and Kina Joho were in cabinet. Kina Joho and Oparanya and company went to cabinet as a result of the June 2024 protest. By July of that year, they were in cabinet. That is the genesis of the broad-based government. This document is not what established the broad-based government. This document, in fact, when you read it, it says that we are not forming. It does not form, or is not the basis of the formation of a coalition with UDA. But they conflate issues and they use this document as an excuse for the broad-based government's existence. You know? So what we want is, we want an implementation of this MOU. And we have only 30 days to go. We will not accept anybody coming to tell us that they want an extension.
So here is a message from a member of the committee. He says, on matters full implementation of the NADCO report, for instance, we require some legislation to be passed by both the Senate and the National Assembly, including on issues issues on the audit.
Yeah, we don't want
2020.
stories and excuses. They are supposed to give us reports.
SG, hang on.
They are supposed to give us reports.
One second.
Yes.
Let me finish. Senate and the National Assembly are even yet to pass the bicameral bill because of superiority competition. They say they have gone around the country, started stakeholder engagement with members of the public, which begin early next month. This is an old article that they are referencing, but that they have moved to develop what they call key performance indicators.
Where in this document were we looking for benchmarking reports?
Well, perhaps that's an operation.
Can they stop wasting our time?
Yeah.
Let them stop wasting our time and public resources. We do not need benchmarking tours for us not to kill our children, Yvonne. That's not what is required. So if somebody is telling us they are developing implementation matrices 1 month to the deadline, those people should pack up and go. They are wasting taxpayer money.
So should they not continue then with their work?
Let them do the work, not tell us about matrices.
Do you think
That's what I'm telling you.
Do you think they can do the work in the next
Let's see what miracles they can pull if they have not been able to do it from the time when they were constituted up to now.
Okay.
Let's see what miracle those matrices they are developing will help them pull.
All right, and it's time for us to take a break here on the program tonight. Now that you've talked about the broad-based government, we'll come back and talk a little bit about that and where it stands. We have much to talk about with the ODM Party Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna, who's also Senator for Nairobi County. We are back with more. 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, at Yvonne Okwara. The hashtag is The Explainer for your questions or comments regarding this conversation here on The Explainer. We will be back in a moment. And welcome back to the program. We're seeing your questions and comments. We'll get to those in a moment. We're speaking tonight with the ODM Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna. We'd left it at the issue of the broad-based government. Where do you stand on this broad-based arrangement as of today? We spoke about this, but that was in July. Today, January, or is it February 2026, do you support this broad-based
My
arrangement?
position will never change on the broad-based government, because the explanation that was given for why we got ourselves into this arrangement has never changed. Even by the time of his untimely death, Baba had never changed the reasons or the arguments for us getting into that arrangement. And I explained them last year when we were here. It was for the sustenance of the democratic state, for us to get an opportunity to democratically remove them, because we did not want to create a precedent where people can go to an election and midway you remove them by means other than democratic means. So my position on that has not changed. And people have given me a lot of grief about it. But if we just go back, to the reasons why we got ourselves into this, we can actually retrace our steps. I hear people on podium saying, oh, we sat and we negotiated and this is what we agreed upon. This was a process that was forced. It was out of duress, out of the desire for us to stabilize a country that was quickly running out of options. And many people forget that, in fact, the architecture of this so-called broad-based government is not what we initially intended. And these are things that Mzee spoke to about openly. In fact, the initial idea was to put together a framework. You remember when he used to talk about even having a convention or something of the sort for us to have a conversation about whether indeed the country will...
Yes,
those things are historical and they're there.
Yeah.
Yes, so that people should not misrepresent why we got ourselves into this agreement or this arrangement.
So your stand remains?
My stand remains the same.
You do not support
Absolutely,
this
I do
government?
not. I do not, because it is being misrepresented for what it was. We must go back to the original idea or the original reason for us getting ourselves into this particular arrangement.
All right, let's focus a little bit on the party for which you are Secretary General. And you yourself said it at the start of this conversation that, you know, a lot happened after our last conversation in July of 2025. Your fate has been a discussion since then, even after the passing of Raila Odinga. So today, Edwin Sifuna, are you in ODM? Are you out of ODM? Are you on your way out of ODM? Which is it?
I am in ODM, and nobody can kick me out of ODM. I have no intention of leaving ODM. I've said this publicly 1,000 times. You don't have to be an official of the party to be a member of the party. If we get to a point where, and in fact, you've heard us publicly calling for a national delegates convention, at which, because this constitution is, the reason why I bring these documents here is so that we can explain to your viewers what the true position of the party is. This constitution requires a national delegates convention whenever, in the circumstances unfortunate as the one that we found ourselves in, whenever a party leader dies. It is not an option, you know? And because some of them don't know the history of the party, some people who joined the party 2 weeks ago now claim to speak louder than even members of ODM that started the party itself, you know? I have been to an NDC, Yvonne. I was elected unanimously in 2021 at an NDC. That is why I am in office regularly. And the Constitution gives me a term of 5 years. So when we call an NDC this year, I am also subject to election, you know? So let whoever it is want to run for position of SG, let them just run. I cannot refuse people or prevent people from running against me for the position or any other position in the party. And when we demand these things, it is so that we clothe the leadership with legitimacy. There are people who have told Senator Oburu Odinga that when people call for an NDC, it is to kick him out. That's not true. The truth of the matter is you call for an NDC so that you clothe people in legitimacy, so that they're able to have the support of the entire party to do the things that they intend to do.
Let's talk
then
about
they say,
that.
oh, it's about kicking Sifuna out, it's about kicking Oburu out. That is not what we are saying.
Okay, so let's talk about that NDC for a moment. According to your party constitution, you say an NDC should have been called following the passing of the party leader, Raila Odinga.
Absolutely. And
but an NDC has yet to be called.
I want to read it for you so that you don't say I'm reading my own things. This is Article 16, D, 2D. It says, in the event the party leader is unable to discharge his or her duties by reason of physical or mental infirmity, bankruptcy, death, resignation, or where he or she ceases to be a party member, a special national delegates convention shall be convened to elect a new party leader.
Okay.
Now, you can just follow what the Constitution says.
All right.
You don't have to take my word for it.
It's been 3 months, maybe 3.5 now, since the passing of the party leader. An NDC is yet to be called at this time. Yet, shortly after the passing of the party leader, Raila Odinga, Dr. Oburu Oginga, who's a nominated senator, was installed as interim party leader.
Yes.
Was that done procedurally, based on the constitution of the party?
Now, you can just read the Constitution. You don't need to ask me, because they say these documents speak for themselves. There's Article 17 that provides for deputy party leaders. And it says the deputy party leaders shall deputize the party leader and perform such duties and functions as may be expressly delegated to him. So, we have 3 deputy party leaders. The constitution of the party.
You had 2 at the time.
We actually had 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
By that time, Simba Arati had already joined the fray. Mm-hmm. So my expectation, Yvonne, first, the public needs to be reminded that I was not part of that meeting that installed Oburu as interim party leader. In fact, when Baba died, many people saw me at State House when the official announcement was being made. I was wearing an ODM T-shirt. Because that same day, we were supposed to go to Kajiado. We had an activation in Kajiado for the party because it was one of those counties where there was going to be a by-election. And in the morning, I wake up, and it is one of the most shocking things. I just saw a message. I won't say from whom. It just says, Amolo has left us. And it was quite shocking because I had spoken with Mzee the previous day, So we all divert. I remember going straight to Mama's house in Karen. I found Gladys Wanga had already arrived, and we had to wait for the president to come. There was a delay in making that announcement because we had to wait for Oburu, who was up country, was in Kisumu. We were being given conflicting information. There was a chopper had been provided. The chopper was not there. He had to fly commercial, and he was unfortunately on one of his airlines that is notorious for delays. It was delayed as usual. And we sat there and waited and waited. And when he landed at JKIA, he had to be airlifted to Karen, and nothing could move. And we, you know, it was a terrible time. So we find ourselves in a State House where the announcement is being made, and it was all very surreal. I was not even the initial plan. I was not in the initial plan to travel to Mumbai. But somehow, in between the announcement being made and when we left there, they said, oh, Sifuna, bring your passport, you're going to Mumbai to bring back Mzee. I said, it's fine. So when I left, we had agreed with Honorable Sosi and Honorable Simba that we need to convene a meeting of the leadership so that they hear it from us, what has happened to their party leader. That was the only agenda that I expected when I left Nairobi for Mumbai. So we go to Mumbai and we come back, and in all that confusion, I don't even remember when I heard that news, you know? But I was like, you know, the expectation of the Constitution is that when there is that vacancy, you have 3 deputies. You should be able to step in and say, or you agree amongst the 3 of you and say, we are going to do a rotation or monthly rotation until the party is able to convene a National Delegates Convention to elect a party leader. But that's water under the bridge. I was not there. When they came and explained the decision to me, I said, fine. But in order for us to clothe your party leader with legitimacy, please follow what the rules do. It's not out of ill intention. It is just to say, this is what we should do by the dictates of our Constitution.
So, because you know, you're a Secretary General of a party, and that is that position is usually a key player in the convening of this important forum.
Yeah.
When is the NDC? When should it be?
It can't just be, you see, ODM is not a one-man show. The fact that I am SG doesn't mean I can just wake up and call an NDC. You look at the constitution of ODM on how NDCs are called, you have to have a resolution of the National Executive Committee, which is something that we can do, you know. But as you know, we had issues in some of the elections. In fact, we had gotten to a place where we had concluded most of the elections up to county level. There are problems in counties, including here in Nairobi, where we have not done the county elections and a few other areas. And it would have been prudent for us to wait for that process to conclude. But you see, the anxiety from the members when I speak to them is that we are making very critical decisions. For instance, this decision that appears to have already been concluded, to have an MOU with UDA, a formal coalition with UDA, is something that is worrying members of the party, saying, please, let us take our time to be able to clean our house first, resolve a few issues internally, and then we can proceed with that conversation.
We will come to that in a moment, because I think that's a substantive part of this conversation that we're about to have. Calling for a resolution for an NDC. In your view, as a party member, even as Secretary General, when should this NDC be convened?
Personally, I feel that the pressure is coming from all these decisions that are being pushed. So that it raises the question of the legitimacy of the decision makers. So that if we took a step back and said, let us give ourselves time to go through the process of the Constitution, there is actually no problem. There's no pressure. Because traditionally, if you look at the provisions on NDCs, we usually hold an NDC. It is stated that it should be held at least by December of the year before the general election. And that is why we did the last NDC in 2021 December, you know. So,
but you can call for a special.
The special one is only on this particular issue.
Right.
On this particular issue of the absence of a party leader.
So therefore, in your view, the installation of Senator Oburu Oginga as, interim party leader was unprocedural? Not
procedural in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. What I would have advised had I been in that meeting is allow one or the 2 or other deputies to act. You can even act 1 month, and in 3 months' time call a special NDC and do it procedurally and properly.
Why do you
then we just move.
Why do you think you were not at that meeting?
I was going to fetch my party leader. I was detailed to go to Mumbai to bring Baba back home.
Do you think they could have waited for you as Secretary General?
I don't think anybody.
And how did you feel about being
anybody
excluded?
considers me important enough to be waited upon, you know. And they have their reasons why they did it in the manner that they did. But I'm just saying, I was not there because I had been given an assignment.
So, what if an NDC is called? A special one?
Fine.
And I haven't finished the question. Hang on a second. What if an NDC is called?
Yeah.
We have seen this in many instances in this country. We've been here. We've seen what typically happens at Kasarani.
Yeah.
Kasarani inakuwa Kisirani. We've seen victims of that Kisirani. And perhaps following in the footsteps of somebody like J.J. Kamoto, Edwin Sifuna is kicked out as SG. What happens then?
It's okay, because Yvonne, there's nowhere it is written that Sifuna can only be the only one who's SG. You have a full complement of a party that has members, over 7 million members. Surely, can you be serious and look Kenyans in the eye and say you are the only person who can do the job of SG? I have said on this show, and I'll repeat it here, I have predecessors, people who have done this job. I have young people in ODM who I know for a fact, if they are given opportunity, they can do this job even better than Sifuna or all the other SGs that have served before. So it is not anyone's birthright to be SG or to be any position in the party.
Would you stay as a member of ODM?
Of course. Of course, I was a member of ODM, as an ordinary member of ODM. There is no problem. You know, Baba used to tell us that for you to lead, you must also learn how to be led. You know, you cannot be insisting that if there's a movement such as ODM, you are the only person who can be a leader in that movement. No. Let us allow the membership of the party to be able to say, Sifuna, now we feel that you have derogated from the values of the party. Let us try somebody else. And by the way, I really wish we get into this conversation of values, because this is the reason why I brought this document. Some of the resistance you see from some of us in some of those conversations that are going on is because we have been taught by Raila himself that we have conversations about coalitions with parties that bear similar values to us. Would Raila tear gas a church? That's a question you ask yourself before you sit down with someone who tear gases churches regularly. Would Raila countenance a situation where we are killing our young people in the police cells? Those are not the values of ODM. Would Raila countenance a situation where you are sitting down with partners who do not believe in democracy? They are dismantling democracy every single day. The people who don't believe in individual freedoms and social justice. Would those be partners he would sit down with, Yvonne? So when we raise these issues, and I brought even there was a statement of the ODM Central Committee that was made in Kilifi. And I listened to people. You see, when the team
calling it the Kilifi Declaration.
Yes, when the team went to Kilifi, this is the resolution that was read in Kilifi. You see, and they say the committee expressed the intention to initiate structured negotiations with different political formations. Then people come to the public here and they say, we will talk only to UDA. In fact, the posturing we see in public is as if a deal has already been concluded. Our expectation was, when you're saying you're going to talk to different political formations, you will go to all these political formations and come back to the membership of the party and say, guys, we went to have a conversation with all these potential partners. This is what X is offering us. This is what Y is offering us. But look at the posturing that we see from some of the leadership in the party. It is as if the UDA marriage has already been settled upon, you know. But if Sifuna were to say that I do not want to converse with party Y, the way I've seen them saying, even here on Citizen TV, they would immediately say Sifuna is going against the resolutions of the Central Committee.
So let's talk about this pre-election pact talks now. First of all, we talk about the issues of the parties. Like you said, the resolution in Kilifi was to speak to different political formations. And now it seems settled that that is with UDA.
Yeah. But that is a violation of that resolution. This resolution here does not say we will not speak to X or Y, or that we have already formalized. It says we will initiate structured negotiations with different political formations. Mm-hmm. You understand?
Could this be part of the start of that initiation?
Yeah, they actually said beginning with United Democratic Alliance. It is there.
Okay.
I don't dispute that.
Yeah.
But where you have immediately this statement was read. Mm-hmm. You have members of parliament, some members of parliament on standby somewhere in Karen. And then they start saying, oh, now we are going with UDA. This is a done deal. Mambo ingine hatutaki. I have a leader who is actually a member of the Central Committee. I saw him on Jeff Koinange saying there's people we will not speak to. That's what Raila told us. So why didn't you say this? Why didn't you say this in the statement?
Okay,
so we will not speak with Yvonne Okwara.
So let's talk about UDA now. What are your thoughts around a pre-election coalition pact between the two parties? Is it a good fit? Is it a good match?
Yeah. So if you want to know if it's a good fit, because I told you that we, who are students of Raila, who did not sleep at the back of the class, the way Winnie said some of them did, understand that you have to look for people who have similar values as you. So what are the values of ODM? And the values of ODM are specified under Chapter 4, and I want to just read them quickly. I'll go through them. Number 1 is the supremacy of party members. Number 2, social and economic justice, respect for constitutionalism and the rule of law, respect for individual and people's rights and freedoms, democratic governance and people's participation. Those are the values of ODM. So when you go and look for a partner, you must find, of course, it is possible that those values might not be a 100% complete match, but you must find somebody whose values at least mirror what you believe in.
Do the ODM and UDA values align?
This is what I am saying. ODM would not tear gas a church. How clear can it get, Yvonne? Raila Odinga would not countenance a situation where police can go to someone's home in Homa Bay, take somebody's child and drive them all the way to Nairobi City and kill them in a police cell. This is why we signed this 10-point MOU. So I am saying, for me, after all these conversations have been had, my expectation is they will come to us and explain to us. In fact, it should be those proponents of that UDA and ODM, what is it called? MOU or whatever it is you want to call it, are the ones to explain how the UDA values mirror ODM's values. And the problem I have with the proponents of this UDA coalition agreement is, Yvonne, they have never tried persuasion. They don't try to persuade us. It is threats, it's intimidation, it's showing us they have money and the resources and the kujipiga kifua. Politics is persuasion. You need to tell me that this is how UDA and ODM are similar. You understand?
So if this question is put to an NDC,
yes,
a special NDC that would be held, and it sails through, what then for you? Let's
cross that bridge when we get there. You know, one of the things that I really do have is confidence in the membership of ODM. These values have been repeated to us so many times that you can actually feel that you live them. And the members of ODM, even the ordinary members of ODM on the ground, live these values. This is what the party was always about.
But
so
yet,
let that question be put to them.
But yet
and you
some
see,
of the leaders, SG, of the very party are pushing for, a pre-election pact with UDA. So
that's why.
Hang on one second. Do you think then they are not living the values of ODM
now,
and considering they are in leadership positions?
Now you have
party chair, party leader.
You have followed some of those conversations. The things they are saying, they are talking with UDA. Have those conversations been a values conversation? Have you heard those proponents saying, by the way, Mr. President, for us to support you, you must stop killing young people? That's a values conversation. Have you heard any one of them saying, if you shrink the democratic space such that people cannot express themselves freely, that when people talk, they are threatened with consequences? We had a young man arrested again just recently because I think he posted a photo of the president, I don't know where. So, have you had those conversations? Because that conversation about this marriage has to be a values conversation in my view.
So
what we are hearing, let me just finish. What we are hearing, and you can play those clips here. Or we want to, in fact, we have a very surprising way of negotiations where for the first time ODM is starting by saying the things they don't want. It is very strange to us. I am yet to grasp this negotiation skill where you start by saying, Yvonne, I don't want presidency, and I don't want deputy presidency. So we are increasingly, when you listen, it is just about positions. It is about roads. It's about markets. That is not value conversations. That's what I'm saying.
Aren't roads and markets and development
and infrastructure and markets are important. Absolutely important. But the point that I want to make to you is that you must contextualize that development. If you look at the preamble of the Constitution, and I will repeat this 1,000 times, there was a yearning by Kenyans when they were passing this Constitution for a very specific type of government. And I have said this. All types of governments can build roads. We have neighbors. We know they don't have democratic systems such as the ones we've tried to put in place. They build roads. Dictators build beautiful roads. They build beautiful markets. Democrats also build roads. They also build markets. The only person there who will respect your individual freedoms is a Democrat. So when you look at the preamble of the Constitution, on what we wanted as a government, the basis of our aspirations, all Kenyans wanted a government based on the essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice, and the rule of law. You have complaints, even as recently as the other day, that this government does not even respect court orders. But they'll build the Kenol Marua Road. So which one will you pick, Yvonne? If you had a dispute with someone, your landlord kicked you out today, you went and got a court order because that's what the Constitution tells you should do, and they disobey that court order with impunity. That beautiful road to your home will not make any sense to you.
So if, not values-based, as you're saying, if this is about positions, is that what you're saying about the section of the leadership that is
you just have to listen. You just have to listen to the conversation.
So do they not represent the values of ODM?
Now, I have read to you the values.
In what they have been saying so far.
I have read to you the values of ODM. I have asked you in that entire conversation, have you had a values conversation? You have heard about roads. You have heard about positions. You have heard how happy we are that we got the CS for Treasury. You have heard how happy we are with the CS for cooperatives and energy and all the others. You have heard about dividing the cow. I mean, when we are dividing the cow, where are we discussing about the values?
So the ODM interim party leader has also, I think in the beginning we heard that they were going for nothing less than the DP slot in those negotiations. But just yesterday, he said they're not going for the DP slot in these negotiations, essentially telling the current deputy president that, they're not after his position. Your thoughts on that?
That's why I'm saying I'm not familiar with that style of negotiation. So I will wait, just as the other members of the party, when all those conversations, because the resolution of the Central Committee was that they will initiate those negotiations. They actually tasked the party leader to have those conversations and then presumably report to us as members of the party that this is what we have
on those conversations and on that task that he was given in terms of going around and sort of gathering the views of the people. We have seen what they have termed as that with the interim party leader going around the country and trying to gather views. A move which you say is not funded by ODM?
No, I've said all those events you've seen, we have not signed for money from the party coffers for any of those events.
Some of those include exactly what you're saying he has been tasked with, which includes going to the party.
Can I ask you a question?
Can
I ask you a question? He was tasked specifically with leading negotiations. Are you telling me negotiations happen on podiums with Nyota recipients seated there?
Okay.
And then the question is put, how many here are saying we should do a coalition? That's not negotiations. In fact, Yvonne, this constitution, when it talks about the roles of a party leader, it says he will lead negotiations. But do you know that this constitution provides for a coalition negotiation committee? And do you see...
Does that exist?
It is here in the constitution. That's what I'm saying.
Exist?
First, you need to understand there is a committee that helps the party leader in negotiations, because one person, it's not to say that you might not be up to task or so on and so forth. There's people, when there is a good team, they help you to be able to see other angles of things that maybe we might be overlooked, just to cross the T's, as they say. So the negotiations that are anticipated here are not the ones that happen at rallies. So you can't ask me if negotiations are happening at
Is this why we've not seen
events.
you? Is this why we've not seen you at some of those parallel events? Some of them have not been necessarily Nyota events. We have seen the interim party leader at events separate from UDA and its leadership or government, as it were. You have been conspicuously absent.
Yeah, but the party leader
those.
has the leeway.
Is,
yeah.
SG,
yeah.
You have been absent conspicuously from those.
What do you mean by conspicuously?
We don't see you.
There is no requirement on the SG to attend all those rallies. And the party leader has freedom to be able to consult party members, to meet delegates in the counties. There's no problem. He can do that.
All right.
And if he asks me to join him, I will join him.
Do you require an invitation to be part of it?
I am not saying.
You are a party member and Secretary General.
I am not saying.
Do you require him to invite you to
but
those
I require to be involved, to have information about where we are going tomorrow. I mean,
so what you're saying here,
just basically that.
So what you're saying here, Edwin, is you are not involved.
No, I wasn't involved
in those rallies.
In
you are not informed of those rallies.
I was not invited. I was not involved. I was not informed. I saw them on the media the way that you saw them.
So where does that leave you as member of the party, but more specifically, Secretary General?
It leaves me as member of a party and Secretary General of a party.
If you are not being involved in certain key decisions.
Yeah, because if you look at the roles of a Secretary General, it doesn't say anywhere that I have to be involved in planning meetings of party members in the grassroots. Party members can plan a meeting in Kitui and decide who they want to invite, you know?
If you were
even
invited,
for me, when I went to Kawangware,
if you were invited,
yeah, if I was invited, I would go.
Okay.
There's no problem. I would go. Yeah.
If you were informed, you would.
Yeah,
go.
if I was informed, I was involved, I would go.
All right.
Yeah.
So you haven't gone because you were not involved.
Correct.
Some of your colleagues in the party, some of them in positions of leadership and otherwise, have all but announced their support for President William Ruto's second-term bid. And so, you know, essentially, there seems to be a dichotomy. There is one term and there is two term.
Correct.
Where do you belong?
You know where I belong. Mimi ni wa one term. Proudly so. And it is because, as you have seen here, the party has not made any decision to support William Ruto in 2027. This is why the Central Committee said they will talk with different political formations. That is the position of the party. So, democracy dictates that people have views on things. I cannot begrudge anyone who thinks that supporting William Ruto is the best thing. And I like some of them, by the way, because they have come out boldly to say, after Raila died, my party leader is now so-and-so. They have said it openly, which is what actually democracy requires. And nobody can begrudge you for taking that position. But also, don't feel bad when people take positions that are opposed to yours. Now, Yvonne, when we go argument by argument, my personal feeling is that we will win every single argument. In fact, we have won every single argument on values, on ideology, on where the country needs to go, the sort of society we need to build. There is only one argument they are saying is remaining, and it's a physical fight. You understand? And you know, violence is the language of somebody who has lost the argument. These days, all they do is just to threaten, oh, we will come, we will kick you out, we will throw you out, we will beat you, including, Yvonne, can you believe it, that goons were allowed into the venue of a Central Committee meeting in Kilifi, and you could hear them even on your hot mics shouting there. You know, it was quite unfortunate. So what we are saying is this, let us have a session where we persuade each other.
So what options?
You tell me this is the best deal. We went in with 5 ministries, tumeongezewa agriculture. Now we are happy. And that's it. No discussion on values, no discussion on expanding the democratic space, freeing up the country, respecting individual freedoms, the rule of law, justice, and the others. No discussion on that. We are just happy we go to the Ministry of Agriculture. And then we see, let the members decide if this is the best deal for ODM. A party that has presented a presidential candidate in all elections since it was formed. We have been the party who's been persuading other political parties. Raila persuaded 26 political formations, all of them which were formed to win power, to support him in 2022. We are saying we cannot even persuade one party to support ODM for presidency.
So what happens if this is somebody you say, to be clear, you do not support President William Ruto's re-election bid? So what happens if your party gets into a pre-election, pact? The president himself, at a meeting with his party members just recently, said, he could win, the margin by 1 to 2 million votes with ODM by his side. So what would happen if your party gets into a pre-election pact with UDA, with President William Ruto as the party leader, as the presidential candidate? Where does that leave you?
I still wouldn't support him. I mean, a ballot is a secret.
Please.
Nobody can compel me to vote for William Ruto. Number two, that math that you quoted is what we call voodoo math. William Ruto would have to break down that number for you, because for me, knowing what I know about how Kenyans vote, listening to sentiment on the ground from Western to Coast to Nyanza to Central Kenya to Eastern to all of those places, I simply do not see a path to power for William Ruto. In fact, I want to say
Wait, hang on a second. He does see a path to power
with
ODM
we have
by
differences
his side,
of opinion on
and
that.
that's okay. If there is that pre-election coalition pact with a person that you say you do not want to see re-elected in 2027.
See, I will still vote to kick him out.
This is not about who you will
I will
vote
still
for,
vote to kick him out.
Allow me to finish.
The ballot is mine.
Allow me to finish the question. Where does this leave you, being a member of a party that is now in a pre-election coalition pact, if we get there?
So let me show you something.
And I've not talked about you being Secretary General.
Let me
I'm
show
talking
you
about
something.
you. Please allow me to finish the question. You being a member of the party, where does that leave you, being a member of a party whose big decision to be in a pre-election pact is something you strongly disagree with, as we've seen here?
So I want to illustrate something to you. We are given 6 ballots, right? In 2017, even in 2022, you have people who belong to ODM who will vote for Raila Odinga for president, come and vote against the ODM candidate in 2017 who was Kidero. They voted Kidero out. Members of ODM, they were giving Raila the votes, denying Kidero, voting for Sifuna, voting for Pasaris. You understand? When you are given that ballot, nobody is there to coerce you to make a decision. And for me, you know, I hear them saying, oh, they are tired of being in opposition. The surest way for ODM to end up in opposition is to get entangled with William Ruto, because
with respect,
William Ruto is going home.
Edwin, I'm not
He's
asking.
going home.
I'm not asking.
You have asked me where it will leave me.
I'm not asking about how you will vote. That is your decision, and that is a private matter. I'm asking about where this leaves you in the membership of a party whose big decision prior to an election goes against your values.
This
not
is what
who
I'm
you
saying.
will vote for.
I will exercise that value by voting against him.
Okay.
Yes.
And still remain a member of the party?
Of course. Okay. You are allowed to do that.
All right. So what options are you exploring then in that presidential bid? Should ODM, in your view, field a candidate?
Absolutely. And, you know, even the last time when we were here, I explained to you why I felt strongly that ODM should field a candidate. We have the opportunity of a lifetime here, in my view. Because of how the vote split in 2022, our candidate lost by a margin of 200,000 votes. In my estimation, if we just kept the constituencies that voted for Raila Odinga, we didn't need to do anything else, because the person who has lost the biggest chunk of his support is William Ruto. We would actually win. I've heard people saying, oh, Baba never nurtured anyone to be president. And it is the biggest insult I've heard against Raila Odinga, because he was not nurturing us in poultry farming. He was not making people who will come to be avocado or horticulture farmers. The Raila Odinga School of Leadership is about leadership. It is in the name. It is in the name. If you feel that you have not been sufficiently prepared for leadership, just step aside. To a jam.
So
that's what we are saying.
You believe there are people within the party who are capable
Yvonne,
of...
You know, people forget.
Okay, let me ask you
people
this.
Forget.
Let me ask you this.
Let me explain.
Does that... No.
Now I'm on the explainer. You're not allowing me to explain.
You have had every opportunity to speak. I
Let me
also have an
explain this
opportunity
point,
to
because
ask
I
a
will lose
question. We will get to it in a moment. Do some of those people who could run for president include you?
Let me explain.
Explain.
Last time, when we were approaching the election, do you know, Yvonne, some of them have had people saying here that the party leader is the automatic presidential candidate. That is not what the constitution of ODM says. The constitution of ODM says the party leader shall be the person who was the presidential election in the previous election. Do you see the distinction? That means the party leader is not the automatic presidential candidate, and that is why in 2022, with Raila alive, the National Elections Board of ODM put out an advertisement for people interested in being presidential candidates. We had 2 people who applied who were not party leaders. They were Raila's deputies. Joe put in an application. Oparanya put in an application. Because that is what the rules of ODM says. So even if you were to go by 2022, are you telling me that Joe and Oparanya have somehow lost ambition or capacity to be presidential candidates? Just going by that. And which is why we are saying, if you are unable to, if you feel that you are not ready for this particular contest, you are not prepared well by Baba, or you are one of those who Winnie was talking about, you slept in the class, please give way. Give way, because as a party that has always fielded a presidential candidate, we have a responsibility to provide an alternative to William Ruto.
Okay, could that alternative be you?
Mimi, if they announce today that we put in our applications, if everybody else fears, I'll put in an application. There is nothing wrong with that. And let the members of ODM decide whether Sifuna can run for president or not. There's no problem.
Okay, as SG for the party, since 2021?
Yes, no, from 2018. This February, I am beginning my ninth year.
Your ninth year, yeah.
Yes.
So 8 years. You've had Kalonzo Musyoka as a running mate in your alliance 3 times, right?
Yeah.
And 3 of those was while you were SG. Would you support a Kalonzo Musyoka bid?
Now, you see, that is a conversation we cannot have now, because these conversations, the structured negotiations, have not been complete. If I understand what the Central Committee said correctly, is that they will talk to all these people and come back.
Would you want them to speak to, say, Kalonzo?
This is a resolution.
WPF?
It's a resolution. It's not what Sifuna wants. Even when they said beginning with UDA, I might have different views, but I cannot argue against it.
But that's what I'm asking.
That's what I'm saying.
Your views
different political
around
formations.
Other political formations.
This is the resolution.
What are some of the political formations, in your view,
now,
as a party member, do you think you should be speaking to, reaching out to?
In Kenya, the political formations are known. Right now, we have an opposition and we have the ruling Kenya Kwanza coalition. So when they talk about different political formations, my expectation is that they'll talk to everyone who is a political player. Partners who you have worked with for 15 years, as you put it yourself, would ordinarily be people you would talk to. Let's see what sort of offer they have to make. Compare it vis-a-vis the offer that we get from UDA, and for me, it has to be a value proposition for the country, the sort of society that we want to build, not just about who is the finance minister or who is the minister for cooperatives. Yeah.
What are your thoughts around this united opposition? They've been saying quite a few things. Now I want to hear your political views.
Yeah.
Now. They've talked about the preparedness of IEBC, for instance, amongst many other issues that have been taking place in the country. What are your views on that formation and that outfit?
No, most of them, by the way, are people that we are still in partnership with. So if you're talking about Wiper, we are still in the same coalition with them. Some of the positions we hold in Parliament, by the way, are courtesy of the Azimio coalition. I am a deputy whip in the Senate, not because of ODM, but because of the coalition called Azimio and the numbers that we have in the Senate and in the National Assembly. So there are people that we have worked with. And by the way, let us not water down the meaning of the fact that Raila chose these people 3 times. It cannot be watered down, Yvonne, because when we go back into that values conversation, he must have seen something in these people that says we can work with so-and-so and we cannot work with so-and-so. All these people were available as political players. In 2013, William Ruto and Baba had a relationship. They had just come out of the 2007 elections together. Why is it that Baba chose to go a different path and not with William Ruto? You know? So these are people that Mzee had worked with, ODM party had worked with for a long time. Let them, the party leader and whoever it is doing those structured negotiations, have a conversation and let's see what sort of deal they can offer.
Yeah, and Jubilee is also a member.
Absolutely, all of them.
Azimio,
all of them, they are still there.
Coalition, and they're still there. You know, there's been some changes and some movement that's been happening on their front. Now with a new deputy party leader in the name of Dr. Fred Matiang'i, he's been presenting himself as a performer, even from his time in the previous regime. What are your views on him and what it looks like positioning? And I'm asking now your personal views on this issue.
No, I've been told I don't have personal views.
By who?
Some characters there saying Sifuna has no personal views. Everything I say is as SG of ODM.
All right.
That so even when I'm in my house playing with my 9-year-old daughter, that I should be careful. That
So
I'm
is that
still
true?
representing
Is that
the party.
true that you don't have
Of course,
personal
it's
views?
not true.
Okay, good. So
I am a human being. I am an individual.
Great.
Yeah,
So-
I have personal views.
Now, as an individual...
So I don't listen to those people who tell me that
As an individual
I don't have independent
and as a
views.
human being,
Yeah.
with your personal views,
Yeah.
what is your personal
So-
view on Dr. Fred Matiang'i styling himself as a performer, perhaps taking a stab at the presidency in 2027?
So personally, I don't look at other people. There was a famous last speech by Raila at Agile Hotel. He told us to think about ourselves first. What are the things that we can do to put ourselves in a position where it is Matiang'i looking for us, not the other way around, you know? Or Matiang'i admiring ODM, or Jubilee admiring ODM, or Wiper admiring ODM. So that we must think about ourselves first.
Okay.
You understand?
So if
So I have-
Matiang'i then, like
Yeah.
you say, approached ODM...
Which the committee has mandated our party leader to do.
Fine.
Yes, they will have that conversation there, and then he will report to us.
I am now asking your personal views, which you have stated here, that you have in plenty. So, your view on if, in your words, if he were to court ODM, is that what you see could be a possible values
Personally,
fit?
my view is this, that ODM should seek partners who can be able to make us win an election.
Do you think...
And I have said here...
Do you think Matiang'i
Just
can
let me
make you win an
finish.
election?
Let me finish. For me, the easiest way for ODM to end up in opposition again is to join up with UDA. Because I know for a fact Ruto is going home. That one I am convinced 100%. I just don't see a pathway for him to power. You know? So, any other person who can help ODM to be able to win, let the party leader go and sit down with them and talk and have a conversation about saving this country.
Okay,
Not just
so-
about who's going to become
So to be
president
clear,
and deputy president.
You
or
are
the
open
other
to
things.
conversations with all other political formations.
This is a
except
resolution
UDA.
of
I'm
an
asking-
organ of ODM, and as a member of ODM, I am bound by that resolution.
I am asking
They have said
your
it themselves
personal
here.
views.
They have said it here.
Okay, so allow me to ask this again.
Yes.
Your personal views, as a Kenyan, as an individual, as a human being that you have told us tonight that you are, you would be open to conversations with other political formations because, hang on.
Why
the
don't you allow me to go with the
no,
statement
because,
of the party?
No. The very statement of the party
Yes.
that you have quoted
Yes.
said that you are open to conversations with other political formations, beginning with UDA.
Which is okay.
That is fine. Now, you have clearly said here
Yeah.
that you do not believe that UDA is a fit for. Now, is that your personal view or is that your view as SG?
That's my personal view.
Good.
Yeah.
So, your personal view then about these other formations, would they be worth speaking with?
I have told you these other formations have walked the journey with us. Many of them, including this Kina Kalonzo and Kina Jubilee and the others. And I have said, if Baba saw something in them, surely there is something in them in terms of shared values with ODM. So let the people who've been charged with those conversations have those conversations. As a member of the party, I will wait patiently to receive a report that says this is what Matiang'i told us, this is what Wiper told us, this is what Ruto told us.
Because
As
you
members,
seem-
where should we
Sifuna, you seem
go?
very categorical, personally, on not working with UDA.
Yeah.
But you seem to not be committal and going back to your views
I have
as
committed.
SG
I have committed. What do you mean I'm
about
not
the
committed?
possibility of speaking with other formations.
I have said these people have worked with us, Yvonne. How many times do you want me to answer the question? Let us talk to them the way the Central Committee told us that they were going to do. When this report comes, let us make a decision on a values conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Do you believe that you and, say, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and his DCP formation share values?
I would have to know what their values are. What are their values? This is a party that is less than, is it 6 months or 3 months? I have not heard them articulate what their values are. So during this conversation here, let's see what their values are. At least for UDA, they have shown us who they are with power.
So let's use this explainer today to clear the air.
Yes.
You have seen this not just at rallies, but online as well. Edwin Sifuna, you are being called a Gachagua mole. Are you Gachagua's mole or not?
I'm too big to be anyone's mole. People should be Sifuna's moles. What does Gachagwa's mole mean, by the way, in your understanding?
You know the history of moles.
I don't know. What does being
in the
Gachagwa's
country's
mole?
politics?
And what is the genesis of that? You know, this thing about moles in ODM, it's old. It's an old story, going back to even when the party was formed. And for as long as you don't agree with a certain position, you are branded a mole, you know? And it is quite interesting. I had these conversations ramp up after I ran into Gachagua at a funeral. And it was a funeral for a parent to a member of parliament from Nairobi. Here in Nairobi, we have always stood with each other. Even I have lost people in my family. All these members of parliament in Nairobi came to bury Uncle Lawrence. We have gone to bury Mawade's, I think it was his mom, when she passed. We went to Gakuya's parents' burial as well, in Nyeri. And in fact, that burial for Gakuya's, I don't remember who it was, the father. It is the first time I met the deputy president, and he was the deputy president then. And I said what I said. So if there is a guest list for funerals, let them tell us. But you are not going to stop me from attending a burial of a colleague when a colleague has been bereaved just because Gachagua is going to be there. I will go to that burial, you know. So for me, really, I expect this because, as I've told you, we have won every argument in the party. The argument they are saying is coming is a physical war. You understand? So they have to look for excuses, and you know what they say, give a dog a bad name and hang it. You know, it's politics. This is kawaida. But I am used to it and prepared. In fact, that central committee that happened after our last explainer, Raila said something to me very profound. He said, Sifuna, even you must learn to have a thick skin, because all these people are going to say all these things about you. And he, even after gave his own life story, he told me, do you realize that the name Raila, like, he was one of the most insulted politicians. They said all sorts of things about it. I mean, it was incessant. It was daily. Out of the 7 newspapers we sell in the country in a week, Monday to Monday, 4 of them had Raila on the headline. Some of them saying true things, some of them saying things that were not true. So he said, you must accept that in your position, and he told me specifically, that in your position as SG, first you must accept that you will be criticized. You will be called names. They will spread rumors about you. They will say things about you that are not true, but you must remain focused. And the focus, the North Star for us is those values that we've spoken about here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a working arrangement between yourself, Winnie Odinga, Babu Owino, and James Orengo? I mean, we seem to see you saying similar things at, you know, rallies or events together. Talk to us about that relationship.
But, you know, first of all, we are members of the same party. And even by extension, some of my friends who are members of the same coalition. Politics can be very lonely, Yvonne. I have lost a lot of friends. These people you see, they are my friends. We used to spend a lot of time together, talk about the country, the values that we have been discussing here. And when all of these friends of yours instantly start singing a different tune, you also need to look for comrades, people who see things from the same perspective as you. That does not necessarily mean that there is a working arrangement. It's just that at this particular point in time, there's people who have taken a certain position, and then there are others who have taken an opposing position. And we need to be together to also guide each other and to validate each other and to correct each other. Sometimes they say Sifuna goes overboard. Sometimes they say other things, you know. So you need friends and comrades in whatever cause you've chosen.
All right.
Yeah.
So friends, comrades. So no plan?
No, there's nothing secret in politics. If there was a plan, you would know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think ODM is in, would you term it as being in crisis?
I don't think so. I think largely if you ask me, largely a majority of members of a party, especially the grassroots leaders, know where the party ought to be. And it is in the feedback that we receive, we hear from the chairman, the grassroots leaders. We saw opinion polls, including one that was done by TIFA just the other day, that a vast majority of our members prefer that we end this relationship with William Ruto. That poll was not commissioned by Sifuna, you know. So as leaders of a party, we also see this feedback. What we have is a philosophical difference in how we approach these things. And I have explained that philosophical difference. that there's those who appear to already have committed the party to things that have not been discussed, to use the language of Raila Odinga. And they are the ones in violation of these resolutions of the Central Committee. It is not Sifuna. If we said we want to have discussion, structured dialogue with all these political formations, can that dialogue happen first before you say you are committing the party to supporting Ruto for his second term? So in my view, this is why it is important, Yvonne, for us to have that NDC. And I would wish that members of the party come to that NDC and give a mandate to one side. Don't mix us up, because we will never agree. What do you think it would take to convince some of my colleagues there to abandon Ruto? It is impossible. They know it is impossible for them to convince me to support Ruto, you know? So let the membership of the party, this is why we say, let us take it to the people. Let them resolve it, even if it will be, you know, they are threatening us. They're saying, oh, they will buy delegates, and they will mess with the delegates list. Sifuna will not even be able to access the venue because we will put goons there, as I told you. Yani yao imebaki moja tu ni vita. Because if we sit down with them here and have a values conversation, they have nothing to say, you know. So once the membership says, oh, by the way, we are going this side, I mean, what they say in democracy, the majority will have their way, and the minority would have had their say.
Okay. All right. Let's get questions and comments from our viewers tonight. We start off with this one from Raul Voke. Says, let the SG declare his side because you're either in government or opposition. We don't want fence sitters. Do you want to respond to that?
I think I have. I have said mimi ni wa one term. Ama anataka niseme nini?
Okay. Let's take another one. Here we are from my Masi Jr., I believe. Without mentioning names, Honorable Sifuna is painting a picture of individuals who are running around with the ODM party for selfish interests, contrary to what the party has stood for. I guess that's a comment. Otieno Victor says, did Sifuna support government campaigns for Raila AU elections?
I didn't support government campaigns. I supported Raila for the role. I said it even on this show, that I believed Raila was the best possible candidate. In fact, it is that government support that cost him the seat. I've said it. Yeah.
Another one here that we can see. This is from Bernard in Nairobi. 2 questions for the SG. One, what don't you like? Is it the leadership of ODM by Dr. Buru, or is it the ODM-UDA talks? 2, because election has to happen in 2027 August. Which candidate are you supporting for the seat?
I think I have addressed my concerns about the leadership. Yeah. And in summary on question 2, which candidate are you supporting? I have said anyone but Ruto. I will not vote for Ruto.
Okay. Lois Kavindu in Nairobi asked Sifuna why he never campaigned for ODM candidates in Kariobangi North by-election.
You are a media house, you can play my clips from Kariobangi North and you have pictures and videos. Let him, this is why I said people regurgitate a lot of, what is it called, ignorance online. Because if you just Google Sifuna Kariobangi North, it will show you 1,000 photos of me in Kariobangi North.
Okay, let me take another set of questions before we go to, okay, let's do Nicholas Wanambisi first. Given that ODM appears to be preparing to enter into a pre-election coalition with UDA, while it remains in law a constituent member of Azimio, what are the legal implications of such a position?
First, in my understanding of the Political Parties Act, you are not allowed to be in more than one coalition. You have to exit the coalition that you are in first, and then form another coalition. And this is what I was talking to you about, that the constitution of ODM requires that for you to vacate the Azimio membership, you need 2/3 resolution. And also the Azimio side has requirements, like you have to give a 90-day notice and so on and so forth. So what I know is you cannot be a member of 2 coalitions as a political party.
Here's a set of questions. 1, can Sifuna explain the role and scope of NGC versus NDC? So maybe I'll just read out all the 4 and then we can take them one by one. Number 2, when were the 3 deputies and the chairperson gazetted to be able to act as he purports? 3rd, was their gazettement ever contested by Sifuna? And lastly, Oburu, the deputies and other leaders have since been gazetted awaiting ratification by NDC. Was that gazettement illegal?
Yeah, now ignorance again. You are only gazetted as a leader of a party after the NDC. Yeah. So none of those people has been gazetted, which is why we are saying, let's call the NDC so that we legitimize
So
your
they
position.
remain interim until
correct.
the NDC.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Here's another one. Why can't SG Sifuna just resign?
Why should I resign? You should give me one good reason, then I will resign.
All right. Then there is another one. Let's get others from our viewers. Timothy Webuya says, Mr. SG, do you know Okech Sala? He seems to be getting a lot of attention from the death of Baba. And I've seen a Twitter account purporting to be his, also saying some things about you.
You know, first, as I said, for as long as you're a member of ODM, even a member of the public, by the way, because as I said, ODM is a publicly funded political party. As a leader in that party, any member of the public is allowed to criticize Sifuna as SG. There's no problem with that. I don't quite remember when I first saw this gentleman, but I do remember taking note of him on the day that Baba died. As I told you, in the morning we all headed to Mama Aida's home. And I remember when the president had already come in. And they were in the middle of, I think he was passing his condolences to Mama Aida. And there was commotion. Somebody just burst in and everybody was in shock. And that was my formal introduction to Okech Sala. Yeah.
And you have not interacted with him since?
No.
All right. So there's another one. Okay, let's get that one. The real Anto says, I have a question for Sifuna. Why is it that you never talk or put Sakaja in check? Is it because he's your fellow Luya, or are you eating together?
First, ignorance again, as usual. There's a group of bloggers there who have been put together to just spread ignorance. Because Yvonne, in fact, I will share this with your media house, a summary of everything I've done in the Senate last year, including those sessions with Sakaja. You can go on my social media pages to see my oversight role in all my committees, the questions that I have asked about Nairobi. I have a summary here. I will give. This is all the work that I have done in the Senate in the last 12 months, including the representation of the people of Nairobi and the people of Kenya. Sakaja is scheduled to appear before the Senate again, I think next week, before the Public Investments Committee. You will see me there. He is scheduled to come before the Public Accounts Committee. You have seen governors appearing. Oversight happens in those committees. Some of these characters expect me to slap the governor when he doesn't clear garbage. That's not oversight, you know. So and the good thing with this media house, Citizen TV covers proceedings of the Senate, including today when the governor of Kitui was there. Those interactions happen in full public view, you know. These people feel that I spent inordinate time on President Ruto and that I should give him equal measure, give Sakaja equal measure. They don't know that the biggest threat to democracy, to even that devolution that we talk about, is not the county governors, it is the national government. And we have gone through all these things, including the 10-point agenda on how devolution is being systematically stifled by the central government, which is why my focus must remain. If we are going to solve the problems of this country, we must reform State House and the person who occupies it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here is another question. Sifuna says he was not there when the decision to make Dr. Oburu the party leader because he was assigned to go and fetch Baba from Mumbai. Question, who assigned him the task? And does he think it might have been a deliberate move to get him out of the way?
It's possible, but you know, at that particular point, Yvonne, first of all, my head was just buzzing, you know? And people ask me, one day I will tell you the story, that the overwhelming emotion for me was actually anger.
Why were you angry?
I was so angry. I was angry at so many things.
Yeah.
I remember getting on that flight and I looked around. I couldn't see enough of Raila's friends. I was very angry. I was just wondering, who are these people going to fetch Mzee? You know? I was very angry at Nyayo Stadium that Baba, even when he was Prime Minister, You know, there used to be fights about even him getting police escort. And suddenly we have these police outriders in front of his casket, and he's taking this tour that to me should have been like his inauguration or something when he's going around the stadium. Things that were denied Raila during his lifetime. I was very angry that they totally blacked out his party colors at Nyayo Stadium. I was very angry. They didn't even mention his political party. I was angry because we used to drape coffins of people, me and Mzee, in party colors. They didn't allow us to drape his coffin in party colors. They were telling us we were not even going to speak in Bondo. You know? That's why I was dressed the way I was dressed. I didn't know I was going to speak in Bondo. So, when I think about the events surrounding his death and how the things were handled, I mean, I couldn't tell you how that decision was made. But I remember I was there with 2 deputy party leaders. And that entire delegation did not comprise anyone from ODM. Then they said, Sifuna, the SG is here. Bring your passport, give to you whoever. You know?
Who assigned you that task?
I'm telling you, we were 3 of us there in the leadership of the party. 2 deputy party leaders. I remember Senator Osotsi was there, and Governor Simba Arati was there. So when we looked at the delegation, it was government heavy. And as an afterthought, they say, oh, we need somebody to go. Actually, Junet was supposed to go. Yeah? We reached the airport, he said he was feeling unwell. And Eddie was not even on the list. When Junet dropped out, Eddie got on the plane, you know?
How do you feel about, because we haven't talked about that, on a personal note, Raila Odinga was your party leader, you were Secretary General. I'll give you a moment now to speak about Raila Odinga's passing and
I don't know,
and how you are coping with that.
We all know that we are all mortal, but nothing prepared anyone for the death of Raila. And there are simply no protocols to mourn a man of Raila's stature. But it hit everybody hard. I mean, it was a very difficult time for the party, for the family, of course, and for the country at large. And for me, even just getting to Mumbai, it was crazy, Yvonne, because we were technically never in India. We arrived there, and Baba's body was on the airside, you know? And it just looked so lonely and undignified because, you know, I think they were just waiting for us to transfer him onto the plane. And we had to, you know, pray at the airside there and basically turn around the flight, you know? And it was a very difficult moment for us. I feel that the state mismanaged the arrival of the body of Raila Odinga. And I will tell you 2 incidents. At the airport there, I feel that if there was, say, a public address system outside the airport and the leadership of the party were there, you know, to calm the people down. Because, you see, the members of the party want to see familiar faces in those times. Even the deaths in Kasarani, they really broke my heart because they were very avoidable. Do you know why people died in Kasarani? Because there was no sound address system, public address system for us as leaders to just assure these people that Mzee was actually coming, you know? We have screens there sometimes and you can see the procession. If those arrangements had been put in place, nobody needed to die in Kasarani. I arrived in Nairobi and went straight to my house to take a shower because I was told the body was going to Lee. Of course, the management at Lee knew they were not going to manage those crowds. And I was called by the Sergeant at Arms at the Senate. And I was told, you know, we are already overwhelmed by the crowds at Parliament. Yeah. But those Sergeant at Arms in Parliament understand that the people need to see their leaders.
And we saw you.
And to listen to them. Yes. So when I go there, unfortunately, even for me, I didn't have a sound address system with me. But I was given this, what do they call them?
Yeah, PA system.
Blowhorn or something like that. And I talked to those people and I assured them that Baba was not coming to Parliament, that we are going to Kasarani. And when I left and they told me, we don't want to see you going inside your car, you'll run away. I was in my car and we walked with all those people all the way to Kasarani. When we get to Kasarani, there was no way to address the people to calm them down and to explain to them what was happening. Because you see the difference between Kasarani and Kisumu. At least Kisumu was a bit better organized. There was an MC, there was somebody guiding the crowds, and all of us thought it would be actually worse than Kasarani. But because they could hear familiar voices of Kina Mdomo Bagi and the others, they cooperated, you know. So, I mean, it was a very difficult time, but for us just, in fact, to add insult to injury is to see people just trampling on Mzee's legacy, putting words in his mouth, saying all sorts of things. Oh, he told me in private, in secret, you know. And it is quite insulting to the legacy of Mzee. But we continue to pray for his family and even for his spirit and his soul to just rest in peace.
What did Baba say to you? Everybody has had their version of what, this is what Baba told me, this is what Baba said to me, these were his final words to me. What did he say to you about the broad-based agreement, where it goes, and about 2027 and beyond? Yeah, now, you know, nobody's going to believe me. That's a problem we find ourselves in, because there's all sorts of jokers saying all sorts of things out there that, oh, Baba told me in private. In fact, what I have concluded, and I hope many people understand, is that let's just go with the things that Baba told us publicly when we were all there, you know? Because even this explanation of the reason why we got into the broad-based arrangement, he told all of us, you know? He told all of us at the last meeting, which was less than 22 days before he died, at the Agile Hotel in Nairobi, that ODM must be prepared to field a presidential candidate in 2027, you know? And this is the thing that is bringing me all these problems, Yvonne. It's not that I have fundamentally departed from the values of a party or that I am Gachagwa's mole. No. All these things are happening. All this war is being brought to my doorstep because I've said what were Mzee's last instructions. And he told all of us in the public, you know. Let's take some final questions now as we get to the close of this. Hassan Mbangwe. Sifuna is right, but speaking ruthlessly against the party you boast of being an SG2 also raises integrity questions. What are you telling the junior party members?
I don't know what he means by speaking ruthlessly, but I'll take you again back to the constitution of ODM. The constitution of ODM sets out what is called the duties of members of a party. One of the key that I like the most is we have a duty as members of ODM to combat propaganda that is detrimental to the interest of the party. What that means, Yvonne, when the Constitution uses the word combat, combat is not something that is polite. That is the word that is used in this document. And there is a lot of negative propaganda portraying ODM as a party that has already abandoned its values, you know? So we have to combat that propaganda and say, no, 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 no. There is a section of the party which still knows why we are together, why we were founded, and that we must insist on those values and not be drawn into this contest where we are being told we have to be in government by all means. What government? What government is also a critical question. If you want to be in government by all means, like our sister in Tanzania, or our brother in Uganda, then you see that is where we part ways. Yeah.
Will ODM hold?
It must hold.
You think it'll hold?
It
or will
must
we
hold.
see ODM Asili, ODM...
It must hold.
Will it break up into different factions?
It must hold, and I will repeat and reiterate that we must hold. What I want to encourage people is all of you who hold positions like mine or contrary to mine, can we try to persuade each other? What's with the threats and intimidations? You know? What is the value of that? Even if Sifuna is to be kicked out as SG, it's okay. We will go to an NDC, run whoever candidate you want to run, a broad-based government candidate for SG, it's fine. I will respect the outcome of that race. But this issue of threatening people, like now when we are going to church in Kawangware last Sunday, can you imagine ODM leaders in Dagoretti North calling the bishop there, threatening him, telling him, oh, you can't host those people, they are rebels, and threatening him that his church will not be complete or it will be demolished. That's where we have gotten.
Okay. Let's take the final question tonight. ask Sifuna this. His critics, this is from Jethro, his critics within ODM and UDA claim he fears nomination competition and is demanding a direct ticket in the senatorial race. Since this isn't guaranteed, he's opted to rebel. Does this hold some water, Sifuna? And which post will he be running for, senatorial or Westlands parliamentary?
Now, how can you say I am demanding a direct ticket for the Senate, then ask me which seat I'm running for? You see, this is the sort of confusion that I see amongst these online critics, because he himself has to make up a point and in his mind. Am I demanding for a direct ticket for Senate, or have I not made up my mind which seat I'm running for?
Okay. So
the contradiction has to be resolved within his mind first.
All right.
Before he has
let me break up the question. Are you demanding a direct ticket in ODM?
Why would I be? From whom would I be demanding a direct ticket? I'm the SG. Are you saying I'm demanding from myself?
Okay. Which seat are you going for in 27?
I have said I'm running for Senate in Nairobi. Okay. And I'm not going to run on the basis of whether I got a direct ticket or not.
Okay.
This summary of the work that I've been doing in the Senate, year on year, is what will either give me a second term or the people of Nairobi will decide to choose another senator. Okay,
let's take the final comment. This is from someone who calls themselves Truly Patriotic Q. If you put aside your emotions and personal interest, you will realize that Sifuna is speaking facts and actually calling out impunity and poor governance, which are crucial issues affecting Kenyans. Fearless Sifuna is hitting the nail on the head, I suppose. So that's a comment. So you say in 2027 you'll run for Senate for Nairobi. I just have a final question for you. Sifuna, have you ever heard of something called the People's Renaissance Movement?
No.
Okay.
What about it? Is there something you want to tell me?
No, I'm just asking if you know anything about it.
Okay.
You do not?
I do not.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Senator Edwin Sifuna and ODM, that's the Orange Democratic Movement Secretary General on a variety of issues in this country. Let's take a break. The Explainer continues tonight. A caucus of professors from various universities in Kenya has petitioned the Ministry of Education over a recent circular terminating standalone early childhood development education diplomas. The directive issued by Basic Education Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok merges early childhood and primary teacher education programs into a single course, a move that has sparked concern amongst educators, students and county governments where ECDE is based. And as Emily Chebet tells us, the Ministry of Education says it is implementing the Presidential Working Party group that abolished ECD diplomas in 2023.
A circular dated January 19, 2026 has sparked sharp reactions from a section of university educators who say the directive has left hundreds of students and parents, many already enrolled in colleges, uncertain about their future. The circular issued by Basic Education Principal Secretary Ambassador Professor Julius Bitok announced the merger of the Diploma in Early Childhood Teacher Education and the Diploma in Primary Teacher Education to form a new program, the Diploma in Teacher Education Pre-Primary and Primary.
We have a membership of 500 colleges training ECD teachers. We have students who were admitted in August, and the circular discontinues them on 19th January. What are we talking about? What do you tell these students?
The caucus argues that any major change within the education system should be implemented within a transition period of no less than 5 years. According to the lecturers, teaching methods at the ECDE level differ significantly from those used at the primary school level.
The primary colleagues are teaching children how to now do mathematics, do English, and do all those subjects, as we are preparing children in terms of self-control, in terms of relationships, in terms of emotional control and focus. That is the science of ECD.
We have made a lot of strides in our education system. Somebody somewhere has come, is cutting it left, right, without consulting.
Kericho governor speaking for the Council of Governors said ECDE is a devolved county function and counties were not consulted on the proposed merger, warning governors may go to court to block a move he says could shift the function back to the national government.
This is being issued when there are trainers in classroom, ongoing trainers in classroom. What then happens to those that are being trained already? What then happens to those that were employed and they are already working in our system? How will that then affect our payroll and how that move forward?
The nature of circulars in Kenya is that they sometimes operate as law. And that circular is illegal. My suggestion is two things. One, the Senate needs to write to the PS to retract his circular with immediate effect.
Speaking to Citizen TV, Basic Education Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok said the ministry is implementing a presidential directive following recommendations by the Presidential Working Party on education reforms. According to Professor Bitok, some privately owned colleges have continued to fraudulently offer the course despite it having been abolished in 2023. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV.
Shock and outrage are mounting over the brutal killings of James Muraga Maina and Daniel Nudu Njoki, allegedly over theft at a maize farm in Kahawa West. Investigators have named a senior administration police officer, a sergeant, and the farm owner as the prime suspect. According to Ode Francis, post-mortem examinations revealed that the victims were struck with a blunt object and forced to swallow raw maize and chili peppers, underlying the gruesome and deliberate nature of the attack.
Grieving families of 29-year-old James Muraga Maina and 45-year-old Daniel Thuku Njoki gathered with their lawyers, IPOA officials and activists, demanding answers over the tragic deaths of their loved ones on Sunday, February 1st, 2026. The two men are alleged to have trespassed into a maize farm in Kahawa West before being confronted by the farm owner.
Ametolewa kwa shamba, amepigwa, lakini huyu Nudu alipigwa akakufa peke yake hapo.
These are events that continue to puzzle residents.
Huyu mwingine huyu wa Kamae, huyu askari walienda wakakutana na yeye kabla wamemaliza kupiga Nudu.
It is alleged that after realizing James was in critical condition, the officer took him to the police station where he was advised to rush him to hospital. However, upon arrival at Kenyatta Hospital, James was pronounced dead on arrival. But even more shocking are the autopsy results, which speak louder than words.
The pathologist confirmed that the two must have had undigested food that included whole maize and whole pilipilis, huge ones that were not even swallowed, indicating that most probably they were forced to swallow that. The fact that it had not been digested, it means that they were killed or they died soon after swallowing the maize and the pilipili.
The two were forced to swallow uncooked maize and several red and green pepper, approximately 1,000 milliliters, almost 1 liter. James and Daniel are not the only ones alleged to have suffered at the hands of the same officer. A construction worker claims he too was brutalized by police.
Niko tu nimepitia tu hiyo area na huko chini kunaitwa Kiwanja. Sasa kupitia hiyo area hivyo nikapatana na hao maafisa wawili. Wakaanza kusema kuna urubaro ilikuwa imeibiwa hapo na drum. Yaani alinipiga tu hivyo bure tu nikambaka tu nikasema kitu sijui ya tu ndio achane na mimi.
Detectives from the DCI Kasarani unit have taken statements from 4 witnesses. Meanwhile, the officer at the center of the investigation has recorded his own account, insisting he was simply a good Samaritan who came to assist the two victims.
Now, fresh questions now arise to the IG and accountability of the police service on the very civilians that they swore to safeguard them. Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Kahawa West, Nairobi.
Pathologists who conducted an autopsy on the body of 18-year-old Njoro Girls High School student Brenda Akinyi on Tuesday say the suspected cause of death, cerebral malaria, could have been managed if it was diagnosed early. Speaking moments after the exercise at the Egerton University morgue, Dr. Titus Ngulungu revealed that Brenda's lungs were congested, her brain inflamed, and she lacked oxygen. The family says that Njoro Girls High School management has since apologized following the unfortunate events. This comes just hours after the school was closed indefinitely, with Form 3 and Form 4 students released to go home due to the tension witnessed since the incident last Friday. Students are expected back in school on Sunday, though grade 10 learners are still in school. Brenda Akinyi will be laid to rest on the 14th of February this year in Siaya County.
Tunaona alikuwa na acute febrile illness ambayo tunaendelea na kufanya utafiti wake tuone ilikuwa what kind of acute febrile illness, lakini personally nikiulizwa nasema huenda ikawa ni cerebral malaria.
It's an acute illness. Acute illness means it's a process that has developed within very few days. Yes. So if you give the treatment at the right time, then you'll be able to manage the condition.
Njoro Girls wameomba radhi ya kwamba na wameeleza walitaka sana kusaidia mtoto na walimuona hadi dakika ya mwisho. Mambo hayo yametokea sio kupenda kwao, hawakuwa na uovu wowote, wali mean good.
Angry residents of Wikawiti village in Rangwe, Homa Bay County on Monday torched 6 houses, including that of an extended family member of local head teacher who's currently on the run after killing a retired teacher and his wife in a dispute over land. According to the police, the main suspect, Peter Agong, a head teacher at Onyege Comprehensive School on Sunday, brutally killed his retired colleague Joseph Oworth and wife by way of strangulation before fleeing the village. Locals say Agong descended on his neighbor with kicks and blows after the deceased allegedly plowed disputed land, which is at the heart of a court case which was to be ruled on the 18th of February. The suspect's family has since fled the village after angry residents torched their houses and farms.
Maana vile huyu jamaa ananyonga mwenzake si kitu poa. Ananyonga mwenzake kama nyoka. Anaua kila kitu ananyonga. So tunaomba tu justice apatikane.
Produce for us this man so that he can tell us why he killed Japunj and the wife. Just come. And even the one who murdered is a teacher. And just getting one teacher like this, they go through so much training.
The government has unveiled the National Electric Mobility Policy, marking a major shift towards cleaner, more sustainable transport. The policy aims to, among other things, improve the development of a comprehensive regulatory framework for electric mobility, promote local assembly and manufacturing of electric vehicles. This as the country seeks to cut emissions and reduce its heavy reliance on imported fuel. Jimmy Mbogo has more on the implementation of a policy that has been 2 years in the making.
Deputy Ambassador, European Union.
The introduction of a national e-mobility policy aims to build local technical capacity and scale up social and economic benefits across the value chain. According to the Ministry of Transport, the policy will be implemented through establishment of a steering committee chaired by the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport with representation from Energy Ministry, county government and development partners, among others. This, the government hopes, will boost the sector's growth and cut down the need for imported fuel.
An import bill of $6 billion, $5-6 billion annually for petroleum, and that we can replace and use our own geothermal. You know, instead of just wasting away geothermal at night or wind at night when we are asleep, we can be using that free power to charge our vehicles. And therefore, it makes a lot of sense for our economic development to basically adopt EV and run with it.
Our vision is, of course, to be a leader in electric mobility transition, not only in this country, but it's in Africa. And how we want to do this is to create a path of putting up a sustainable and equitable transportation system powered by e-mobility.
Players in the e-mobility space have called on the government to fast-track the implementation process.
So I think from an investment perspective, EVs basically on the value chain have contributed to more than 300 million investments in the country. And with this launch, we see a significant increase in investment. This gives confidence to our investors to keep on investing in the country.
With the policy framework now in place, the Ministry of Transport says if it is able to bring down the cost of manufacturing electric vehicles in the country, it might have to review downwards the number of years for imported vehicles.
Why would we want to be bringing a 6-7-year-old vehicle that is already beginning to smoke and that has been retired in one economy into our country when the cost of EVs are coming down? So we'll work on that together within the various technical working groups.
To distinguish electric cars on the roads, the CS has further unveiled green license plates to be used by electric cars in a bid to boost public awareness of e-mobility and encourage more motorists to switch from fuel-powered cars. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Kenya Power has released its financial results for the first half of the 2025-26 fiscal year. The report, covering the 6 months ending December 2025, shows a 5.5% increase in pre-tax profit, reaching 14.83 billion shillings. The utility provider attributes the performance to higher electricity demand and a reduction in total debt. However, the company also reported a significant rise in power purchase costs as it moved to meet national energy requirements. Here's Jasmine Wamboi with the details of that report.
Kenya Power's latest financial statement indicates an upswing in its fiscal position. The company reported a pre-tax profit of 14.83 billion shillings, up from 14.06 billion in the same period last year. This growth was primarily driven by a 6.9% increase in revenue from electricity sales, which totaled 114.8 billion shillings.
It's important to note that all customer categories registered increase in sales across, with the biggest driver here in terms of, when you look at a percentage, export, and I think the MD will mention that when he comes back. This is because of the flow of power to Tanzania. We do power exchange, we have power exchange agreements with Uganda and with Tanzania.
The increase in revenue corresponds with a 10.5% rise in the volume of electricity sold. Additionally, the company reported a marginal improvement in distribution efficiency, which rose to 78%. While these operational metrics improved, the cost of purchasing power from generators also rose by over 5 billion shillings to account for the increased demand. On the balance sheet, Kenya Power reduced its total borrowings by 6%, bringing debt down to 84.2 billion. The company's negative working capital, a metric often used to measure short-term financial health, narrowed from over 19 billion shillings in June 2025 to 12.5 billion shillings by year end.
As you may note in the full year financial reports, the auditor's report dropped the issue about the uncertainty on going concern that had been specifically anchored on the issue of persistent negative working capital.
The company says that future efforts will focus on sales growth, robust revenue collection, as well as grid modernization and loss reduction programs.
We are giving out an interim dividend of 0.3 per ordinary share. And you'll actually see that this is 50% rise compared with a similar period the other year, where we had given out 0.2%.
With a customer base of over 10.2 million people and steadily growing electricity demand, Kenya Power is on track to deliver a return on investment to shareholders for the third year running. However, this outlook is pegged on the country's ability to generate more power quickly enough to meet the growing demand. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Signs of growth, but questions remain about who is actually benefiting. A new economic outlook by BDO East Africa suggests that while some sectors are expanding, many households and small businesses may still be under pressure. Dennis Otieno reports.
According to BDO East Africa's latest economic outlook, growth in 2026 is being driven largely by key sectors, with agriculture leading the pack.
If you look at agri-value chains, agriculture, it remains Kenya's biggest opportunity. Not just farming, but agro-processing, storage, logistics, and exports. Tea, horticulture, dairy, food processing, climate-smart agriculture and irrigation.
Other key sectors are services, which includes ICT, financial services, trade and transport, and the energy and infrastructure sectors. However, the report raises concerns that this growth is not being felt evenly across the economy, especially by small businesses, informal traders, and low-income households.
So if you look at the headline numbers, Kenya is stabilizing. There's no question about that. Inflation has come down significantly from the highs of 2023, 2024. The shilling has strengthened compared to last year, and the central bank has been very deliberate in restoring credibility. But let's balance that with a bit of reality. But for ordinary Kenyans, that stabilization hasn't fully translated into relief yet.
Small and medium-sized enterprises, which employ the majority of Kenyans, continue to face high operating costs, expensive credit, and reduced consumer spending. BDO warns that without targeted policy support, the gap between headline economic growth and everyday reality for Kenyans could widen, slowing long-term recovery.
We can confidently say Kenya is not in a crisis mode anymore, yet we are not in a comfort zone. We are stabilizing, but growth must now become inclusive.
As policymakers focus on boosting growth numbers, economists say the real test will be whether that growth translates into jobs, incomes, and relief for ordinary Kenyans. Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Time for the sports news. Nairobi United have no time to rest as they face APS Bomet in a Kenya Premier League match tomorrow, 2 days after arriving from Tanzania, where they lost 1-0 to Azam FC in a CAF Confederations Cup match. The FKF Cup champions must win tomorrow if they are to close in on league leaders Gor Mahia. Naibos are 10th in the Kenya Premier League standings with 25 points, 15 behind leaders Gor Mahia. Although they have played 3 matches less, they will have to be at their best to fight off fatigue from a congested schedule. They have to play midweek and at the weekend for the next 3 weeks to catch up with the rest. They will miss Michael Karamor in the next match after he picked an injury in Tanzania. A win will push them to 8th, above Tusker FC, while a draw or a loss will see them stay in 10th.
After AP Bomet on Wednesday, we play on Sunday against Wydad. So you see, it is a matter of playing, having a lot of recovery, motivating the players so that they be lively in these matches.
Siwezi sema ni game rahisi. Wako kwa ligi, do wako chini kidogo, lakini kwa table wako chini kidogo. So watakuja wakaze ndio wapande hapo juu. But sisi pia upande wetu tunataka points.
In more football, the national under-20 women's football team, the Rising Starlets, have stepped up preparations for their World Cup qualifier against Tanzania that will be played at the Ulinzi Sports Complex on Saturday afternoon. The team has been in camp for the last 3 weeks with the initial number of 60 players reduced to 32. Ahead of the game, the technical bench is expected to reduce the number to 23 for the 2-legged fixture. Kenya will host the first leg before the return leg in Dar es Salaam a week later. The players in camp say they have prepared well and know what is required to win. The Tanzania squad has a number of experienced players who have turned out for their senior women's national team.
Na pia ukiangalia hata players wenyewe venye tuna train grao, mtu anaonyesha kwamba kuna kitu tunataka hapo mbele, na ukiona mtu akiona mwenzake ako chini anamuencourage, anamwambia unaweza, hii ni yetu, lazima tuwin.
Tuliona Sekafa venye wanacheza, tujui kama ni hao players. Kwangu kwa ma defenders najua tutawachezea venye tumezoea. Mimi na Mideva najua tutapush hapo mbele, haitakuwa rahisi kwao.
To finish off, a Sadio Mane goal was enough for an Al Nassr side missing star striker Cristiano Ronaldo to overcome Al Riyadh in the Saudi Pro League. The Portuguese superstar was reportedly on strike over a dispute between the forward and the club's owners over transfer strategy. But despite missing Ronaldo, Al Nassr cemented their second position in the table with victory over their city rivals in a game with 3 disallowed goals, all for offside. So that is all the time we have for you in the sports news here on The Explainer tonight. We have a big game going on as we speak. Arsenal and Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. It is 3-2 to Arsenal on aggregate, but it's 0-0 in this match right now. So it's the semi-final. And then we'll have Man City and holders Newcastle facing off tomorrow. City are 2-0 up on Newcastle for tomorrow's match. So that's a bit of an update on football. But the Winter Olympics is also starting soon, which is happening in Italy. The opening ceremony is on Friday, but we already have some curling action tomorrow.
Yeah.
So curling is an interesting sport.
Isn't it?
I don't know where you would play it here.
Don't know.
The one with the
the
brims and that.
No.
I want to try it one day, but we need to.
You can try it here in studio, maybe.
Maybe. Actually, yeah, we got a shiny.
Might help with sweeping in the studio.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. But yeah, so lots of sports to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I think the coming Olympics, both will be highly political as well, which is
for sure, especially one in the US.
Yes, I've already seen stuff about Italy and I don't know and.
Yeah.
Ice and everything, so I just hope that doesn't take away too much from the sport, as much as it's an important issue.
We hope not, because sports is often a place where you can disconnect from the world almost, right? And just enjoy sporting spectacle in front of you. So hopefully that can be maintained in the upcoming Olympic Games, the Winter Olympics, and in the summer.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes.
Absolutely. Visa
applications and all of that's going to cloud that.
That's a struggle in the first place.
Yeah, okay. All right, super. Thank you, Emmanuel, for the sports news.
Thanks very much. Was it a good show?
It was a good show, yeah.
Fantastic. I enjoyed it.
Too. Yeah, thanks. Me too. My name is Yvonne Aquara.
I'm Emmanuel Ndungu.
Njoki Shege is our sign language interpreter. Good night. We'll see you again soon.
All right.